All right. So the whole idea is this is going to be a Revit online group for user evolution. Thus the name Rogue. Okay. And I'm here with Nathan today. And Nathan is absolutely 100% brand new. I think he's one of the very few people I'm going to be training how to do Revit. That have you ever done any CAD at all, Nathan?
No.
So most of the last 15 years, I typically have to train people who have CAD experience, which there are a few nice things, but there's actually more detriment to having CAD experience because you want to try to do things the CAD way. So it's going to be a very unique kind of training because, like I said, Nathan's never done that before. So Nathan started a brand new Revit project with the Revit template in 2025. Now, Nathan, one of the things I wanted to explain to you, I'm hoping you would have said, well, I don't understand, Brian. Why are we going to do 2020? So I want to explain a little bit of a problem that there is with Revit. And that is, unlike the software we were just looking at with the Rhino, did you notice how Jaffe said it comes out every 3 years?
Yeah.
Revit gets updated every year.
Okay.
Here's the problem. If you do work in a newer version of Revit, you can't take any of that information back to an older version of Revit. Okay.
Okay.
So it becomes an absolute nightmare inside the office because a lot of companies, if you're working on several jobs, if you're at an actual contractor, you might have jobs from three different architects. Well, if architect A used 2025 and architect B used 2024, and architect C, because they started that job so long ago, believe me, the job we were just working on, that casino, was done in 2020. Well, what now has to happen is you have to have each of those versions of the software loaded to work on those three different jobs. And all of a sudden, you will start to use up all of your hard drive space. Okay.
Okay.
So I sometimes joke with Jaffe that it's not bad enough that you got to work sometimes in Rhino, sometimes in AutoCAD, and sometimes in Revit. It's a bigger problem just working in the correct version of Revit. Now, if you remember, one of our goals on this Revit online group is going to be amass a library. Well, when we make these families, the same thing happens. So if you make the families in 2025, all those people out there that are using 2024, 2023, 2022, so on, they won't be able to use your library. They won't be able to use those families. However, if we use 2020 to amass all of our library, all the people in 2021, 2022, they'll be able to use it because you can upgrade, but you cannot downgrade a file. Does that make
Okay.
sense to you?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, this is a real problem. Okay, so my hopes is that other people will look at this and potentially even Autodesk. Someone will alert Autodesk. This is a shameful practice. It makes it even more difficult for a person in the office to be dealing with the multiple versions of the software. The things really went awry in the last couple years. Okay, when they switched over to a subscription mode as well, it complicated it because the reason I work with 2020 is 2020 was the last version of the software you could own. So if you remember that what Jaffe was saying about how you paid 9.95 and you owned the software, you
Yep.
can no longer own Revit. You can only rent Revit.
Okay.
You understand that concept, right? And you did a little bit of the searching to see what it's going to take to be able to get you to use this so that you could learn it. And you came up with what's like about 300 and some dollars a month.
$365, yeah.
$365 a month. Here's my problem. I would be fine with that if I could use the software only in the months that I wanted to use it. Because you saw we were just looking at other softwares. There's other times where you're going to be doing the Twin Motion, or you're going to be doing the Deluxe, or you're going to be doing the Rhino. It's not like you're using the Revit. Very few people are using the Revit software exclusively. There are in some companies when they put 10 Revit users on a project, those Revit users, they come in, they punch the clock, and they work for 8 hours a day. But that's not how Revit was sold to us. Okay. When it came out, you remember everyone was using AutoCAD. Like I said, that's who I trained everyone from. What ended up happening was they came out and said there was this new software that would allow you to do your job better, right? And increase your productivity. Well, if that's really true, you should be using less copies of the software, not more copies of the software. And that's not what's being done in the industry. So the gist of it is, if you are able to do your job faster and do it more efficiently, and I will tell you, you can do 6 months of work in 1 month. Why shouldn't I be able to rent the software for the 1 month that I'm going to use it and take the other 5 months off? Okay. So the reason I have 2020 is that was the last version, and I am a dinosaur because in 2021 and 2022, they had a hard push. They said, we'll buy back the license of Revit that you own, and we'll give you a discount for the next 3 years. And most companies took that, and most people gave up their licenses to the software. I did not. That will be a sticking theme as we go through the next 90 days, because there's a lot of things that anger me about Autodesk and how they treat their clients. Now, on the flip side, this is the greatest software there ever has been. This software, hands down, for doing architectural projects, it kicks butt. And unfortunately, I believe the industry is so sick of those other things that we talked about that there are people leaving Revit. But I wouldn't be so concerned that they're leaving it so fast that it's going to go away, because it is such an incredible software. And that's why we're going to take the time to still teach it to you. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So that's how they start a new template, huh? Just like that.
Yep.
Let's see. You are in. Which view are you actually in right now? It used to be bolded. It says L1 architectural. I can see it. Yep, I can see it. Yep, I saw it. Okay, so the first thing that we've got to learn about Revit, and there were some similarities here with the Rhino, but Rhino is much more like AutoCAD. Remember, I used to teach people how to do AutoCAD, but the first 2 boxes that you got to get straight when I tell you where to go is the project browser and the properties. And that's over along the left side of the screen. That top little window, that's your properties. And the one below it is the project browser. So the project browser shows me what sheet I'm in by being a little bit bold. Can you see how L1 architectural, that one right there? Do you see how that thing is bolded?
Yeah.
All right, that tells me what actual viewport is active right now. Now, I'm laughing a little bit on the inside, but crying even more. It's sound how they've set the template up for you. And what I mean by that is putting that north arrow down in the bottom and that scale. I don't really understand the concept of why they did that. As well, they put in a couple reference planes. Those are the green dotted lines that cross through the middle.
Yeah.
And they've added a section. We're going to teach you how to add all those from scratch. What they're trying to do is they're making it a little bit more friendly, so a person only has to know wall, door, window, roof, and stuff, and they can start to get some sheets automatically set up for them.
Right.
But if your project doesn't fit that cookie cutter, I'd be concerned. So Autodesk is sort of making a mistake by putting too much in that template. It's my first exposure to it because I haven't even loaded 2025. But the idea is you are in a 3D viewport. It is a plan view. Okay.
Yeah.
So what you did, show me what you were doing when you were playing. And you said you had a couple questions for me because it's great for you to play. If you can spend a little bit of time playing and generate the questions, it's going to be extremely beneficial because that's the same questions other people would have. So what questions you have out of the gate when you started drawing?
Okay. So initially, when I looked at the software and I took it on, it was a little bit more just point and click.
Uh-huh.
I didn't look too much at the words. I didn't take too much time learning each, what each thing did. I mainly went up here
Yep.
and played with the icons to build.
Yep.
I went a little bit in structural to do some slabs, maybe put some foundation on, but I saw floor. I had remembered that you taught me how to draw the lines up here before.
That's called sketch mode. Okay.
Sketch mode, right?
That's when we get that red X and that green checkbox. That's
Yeah.
correct. Yep.
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 And I just started clicking. I initially just did whatever box I could.
Right.
Selected that, and there was my floor.
Yep.
And to edit that, edit boundary.
Yep.
And you showed me this, measuring it.
Escape 2 times, then okay. Yep.
Yep. And then I could set it. But hold on. Let me get my bearings here.
You're fine.
If I wanted to, I could draw a wall on top of this floor.
Sure.
And it would just create a box with an opening on top.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would be able to set a roof on level 2. That's already a preset that I guess they built for me. I think what ends up happening is, yes, I can set this roof from here to here and attach it, but this ends up happening because I didn't set this level plane high enough.
Sure.
And that was initially the problem I ran into as to how to move these and
All
how
right.
to create these.
Now watch, because this is going to be a common repetitive thing. If you picked on that L2 grid level line,
Yeah.
pick on the line itself, not the number.
Okay.
Now pick on the 12-foot. Nope. There you go. Make it 20 feet. Watch what happens.
Right. Okay.
Do you see there's also a 20-foot dimension? You could click on that as well.
Right here?
Yep. That's called a temporary dimension.
Okay.
So if you made that 22 or 30, yep.
Okay.
Okay.
And everything that
you see how 3 of the walls aren't doing their job?
Yeah.
That's because when it attached them they just sort of missed the wall. Okay. And that's partially because what you did was you did this out of order. And this is the part where it's so tough to tell someone that's coming from CAD is you've got to let the software help you. You've got to feel what the software wants. And when you become like sort of integrated with the software, it works really well.
Right.
Okay. So the first thing that you did that was a mistake is you don't draw your floor first. We
Okay.
draw the walls first. What
Okay.
we draw first, and I think you said you wanted to do a sports arena as your project.
Yeah.
Okay. For a sports arena, we get into for large scale buildings, we get into the real order that Revit wants you to draw, which is the first thing that you draw is your levels. You figure out how many levels you're going to have approximately. From what I just showed you, you saw we could adjust where that level is and the stuff will move with it. But the idea is if you could put your levels in, how many levels your sports complex is going to have. And then the second thing we draw is the column lines. Then we start drawing the walls. Now, in this case, we're going to stick with basically a house.
Okay.
All right. So I'm guessing you hit delete to get rid
Yes.
of everything. All right. So let's start with the first thing. And how big is your screen? I never did ask you. You said you had one monitor. How big is it?
I have a 27-inch.
Okay. That's not too bad. Type in WT, which stands for window tile.
Just on my keyboard.
Yep. And then what you're going to find is Revit is very common. There are shortcut keys that are just 2 letters, and it'll invoke that command. So you can see that when you deleted everything in floor plan mode, you couldn't see the roof, so the roof was left behind. You see how that's done?
Okay.
And you remember we talked about the roller wheel yesterday, and you on your own figured out if you rolled the wheel, you could zoom in and zoom out.
Yeah.
And then I showed you if you hold the shift key and click down on the roller wheel, that orbits. All right.
Yeah.
Now, when you've got a very big building or a bunch of objects and you want to orbit like around just one thing, let's say the front door, what you do is you pick the object first and then do that shift and roller wheel. And you'll notice that everything rotates around that object.
Okay.
Okay. Then the only other thing with the roller wheel is if you double click on the roller wheel. See it? Do it in the other view as well.
It
See what
recenters.
zoom extents. It does a zoom to everything that's in the view.
Okay.
Okay. So if you want to go ahead and delete that roof, we'll go a little, we're going to go through those commands that you played with. So if you just go to that 3D view and pick on the roof and delete that guy out of there so we don't have that shrapnel. And
Okay.
do me another favor, the 2 green boxes. Pick on one of those green boxes, and I'm going to tell you what it is. Can you tell what it is? You look at the properties. When you select an object, then go look at the properties. It's going to tell you what it is. That's a scope box, and it tells you its height, and it tells you its name. I'll be honest with you. I'm not keen on scope boxes. I'd go ahead and delete that.
Okay. Both of them.
Yep. And if you pick that one, you're going to see that as well is another scope box, and you can delete that one as well.
Okay.
And how are you deleting? You're clicking a button on the screen on your
I am.
on your keyboard. There's a delete key that works the same. So
Okay.
over in the plan view, you see your north arrow and your scale. I want you to delete both those the way I just told you. So pick on them and hit the delete key on your keyboard and delete key on your keyboard.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So there's still a box in that plan view. You see the
Yes.
box around the outside? Pick on that. What is it? You see how that's named other, and it's a little bit, we look down on it and it tells me what scale it is. What that is the crop boundary. Okay.
Okay.
All 3D views you can have the ability to turn on a crop boundary and then to be able to make that crop boundary visible. So I'm going to show you another. Remember how we talked about the first step was those two windows on the side, our project browser and our properties.
Yeah.
The next thing I want to introduce to you, you already played with a little bit, is if you wanted to change the scale of this drawing. You remember where you changed the scale of the drawing?
Down here.
Uh-huh. Go ahead and change that to anything else. I don't care. All right. You should see all the section heads got a little bit smaller. Every piece of text would have gotten smaller. Every drafting element. Okay.
Okay.
That's what the scale does for us. It also changes line weights and other things. But notice how you changed it that to 3/8 down in the bottom. I want you to look at the top of the properties box. Look at that. Click on that and hit the arrow. You would see that you can change it back to, and let's change it to 1/4 inch since we're going to be doing a small building. That effect doesn't happen until your mouse comes off the project browser, off of the properties box. In other words, even if you hit enter, it's not going to make that change until your little cursor goes back over top of what I typically call as white space. But since this is in dark mode, it's that we're going to call it the black space, but that empty field.
Right.
Know that when I say click in white space, what I'm looking for you to do is to click on your screen somewhere where there's no objects.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect. So we can make all of these changes that I'm about to talk about, the crop boundary, either across those bottom windows or those bottom icons at the bottom of the screen. So if you go over, you're going to see there's one with a little light bulb. Do you see the one with the light bulb? Nope, that's the yellow light bulb. One more over, that one there. That one hides the crop region. So go ahead and click that.
Okay.
Now, if I was to go up to the properties box, and now this is where we get into a real important one, which is because you have a 27-inch monitor, not a 4K monitor, you can't see everything in the properties box. If you scroll down, you'll see there's a bunch more settings. You got it. You could also do that with your roller wheel. So in other words, being over there, you see how it goes?
Yeah.
So what you just did by turning off that thing in the bottom, if you notice underneath extents, it says the first checkbox is crop view and the second one says crop view is visible. If you put the checkbox in the second one, take your cursor. You don't ever have to hit the apply button. All you have to do is, you see how you take your cursor back over?
Yeah.
Perfect. And that's an important feel for you to get because it's going to repeat itself. But what I'm trying to drive home to you is this can be either a great frustration or you can realize it for the opportunity it is. In Revit, there are sometimes 10, 11 ways that you can do the same thing. Okay.
Okay.
So we were able to do it with the little icons at the bottom. We're also able to do it with the properties. Now the frustration becomes there are some things there's like, oh, well, there's not a button at the bottom for it, Brian, but there is a spot in the properties where you can change it. Does that make sense? So some things are only in that properties box, but the most of the fundamental things are on those buttons at the bottom. Now, that's typically what I would be looking at. The old template would also not have those two reference planes, which are those green dotted lines.
You want me to delete these two?
Pick on one of those and let's see what it is. See how it says it's a reference plane?
Yeah.
Okay. And you could delete both of those. Now, I want to show you a different way to select because this is going to be an important thing that you do. So, obviously, if you pick on an object and select, it turns blue and is selected. If I wanted to select, you notice how when you pick on that next one, it unselected the last one?
Yeah.
All right. Hold your control button down and pick another object. See how it's got both of them?
Yeah.
Now click once in what I would call white space and empty space. That unselects them. Now, another way to select things is to click on your screen and drag. And what you're going to see, a box is made. Now, notice how if you go do that again, but this time don't go down and left, go up and right. Do you notice the difference in the box? That is a window box. That means only things inside of the window get selected. So if you wanted to do an inside window box, you would have to click in the screen way down by the 1/4 inch scale so that you were making a very big box. Then it would select all that stuff that's inside of it. But you notice it only selects the stuff inside the box. You see?
Okay, I see. So the boundaries. So if
Right.
I got you.
And if you go the other direction, it's a crossing box. So you only have to get that right. See, so that becomes very important in how we select objects.
Okay, so if I go down to the left, it selects whatever I cross over instead of having to
Correct.
get the full thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So if, however you select them, select those 2 green guys and delete them.
Okay.
Perfect. It's probably warning that you were deleting a locked object. I don't know why it always hits beep whenever you delete.
I don't know.
We'll worry about that later. So if you look at those 4 white things around the outside, those are called elevation markers. I'm not going to go into them real deep, but the idea, that one would actually, you would find, is probably named north, and then the bottom one is south, and then east and west. Remember that all of this stuff is being drawn in any model views when we draw any of the objects off this architecture tab. Walls, doors, windows, all the things that you were looking at, those are all model objects, including the line. Do you see where there's one for drawing a line up at the top on your icons? See which
Model line, right?
Right. Now that's going to be very different than an annotation line. This line will show up in every viewport that's a model viewport, as opposed to an annotation line or a drafting line that will only show up in the view that you're working in. I know that's a little bit, whew, what the heck did you just say? We will revisit that when we get to drafting objects. But what I'm wanting you to understand is those 4 elevation markers, what you want to do is you want to try to draw your footprint of your building inside those 4 markers. So let's say we're going to draw an L-shaped house. So we start with a wall, right?
Okay. And you said an L-shaped house, right?
Yep. Now, wait a second. So, very important step. Yeah, you can draw with the those are your different line segments. Even though we're not in a sketch mode, we can draw curved walls. We can draw a rectangular shape. What I want you to do is, once you pick the wall, what ended up happening is the properties is now set for what type of wall you're going to draw. So do you see in the properties box where it says basic wall 8-inch? Click on
Yeah.
that. Click on that. There's all the different types of walls that we can draw. And you can
Okay.
probably scroll your little scroll bar, I think. And can you scroll up? See, there's some exterior walls. So let's draw one of those exterior walls.
Anyone?
I don't care. Yep. You want a brick house? Brick with CMU? That'd be fine. All right. Now, we now have the ability to set some of that stuff in the properties, but there's also another very important section that you need to be able to look for objects. And that is across the top bar where you're going to see where it says modify place wall height. You see how it says right now that the height of this wall is unconnected. I want you to change that it goes to level 2. So you would pick unconnected and you would say it goes to level 2. So now these walls are attached at their top to level 2 and at their bottom to level 1. Do you see what the next one says? location line.
Right.
Keep going. There you go. See, so what's going to happen is as you're drawing, and the dimensions that are actually the temporary dimensions that are placed are going to be to the center line of the wall. Well, if this is a brick building, it's really smart for you to draw this by exterior face so that you can keep the building coursed so that you don't have to cut brick. So that would be finish face exterior.
Okay.
All right.
Right.
The next one, chain, that'll become obvious in a second. You leave that on. We can also, and I'll show you a little bit more for the offset and the radius and the allow or the join status. We'll go into that when we get a little bit better. But I need you to realize that when you're trying to draw something, you have to look in that little area right there for certain commands. That area right there, you got it.
Okay.
Right. So now to draw these walls, it took me a while before I understood this, but you really want to draw your building clockwise.
Clockwise. Okay. From
Yep. So draw me an L-shaped house.
okay. Does it matter where I
No,
start, or can I just start anywhere?
like I said, you're gonna want the basic building to be centered up in those 4 white elevation marks, and that'll be more clear in a minute when we start showing you how they work.
Okay.
Notice how it's giving you a number. You see that number?
Yeah.
Type in 112 right now. Don't do anything. Just start typing. Head that
Oh, okay.
direction. Just keep it level. Don't move your cursor. See, when you move your cursor at an angle, then it's going to hit escape one time. All right, now go back to your wall command. It will remember the last type of wall and how you were drawing it. So notice it kept you in the basic exterior wall. It kept it attached to level 2. It remembers the last thing that you did. Okay.
Okay.
So now
That's
if you
helpful.
went down to the bottom where you were at, snapped, and started heading over to the left. If you don't move your mouse and you just start typing like
Okay.
112, see where it put it? And I'll tell you, you do not need to type in the foot mark. So if you wanted it to be 112 feet 6 inches, you would type in 112 space 6. And that knows 112 feet 6 inches. We'll know that in a minute when we end up dimensioning this.
Okay.
Keep going up a little bit higher so it's an L shape. Perfect. Perfect.
And then do I connect it here?
You can try that. Mhm.
Okay. Oh, I don't think it connected.
Zoom in with your wheel.
Can I just
I'm
okay
letting
then.
you struggle. I'm letting you struggle for a second. Go ahead and delete that little piece of that wall. All right. So what most people, I'm going to show you first what I would have had to teach most CAD people to do. They would delete one of those walls, right? Go ahead and delete one and hit delete. Now pick on that other wall. And when we pick on an object, watch across the top of the screen. Automatically our modify toolbars come in. If you pick back in white space, you'll notice that'll go away and you'll be back on the architectural tab drawing walls. So what most CAD people would do is pick that wall. There is a miter command. It's right about in the middle of the commands at the top. At the top. Now go over towards the middle of the modify tool pan.
Okay.
Yeah. Down a little, down from them where you were. That one right there. That's the trim and extend, or most people from AutoCAD would call it the fillet or the chamfer. And then what that allows you to do is to pick those 2 walls and join them together.
Huh. Okay.
Okay. And right next to it is the one that does trim and just trims one line. And then the multi-trim is right there. At the top of it is one that's a partial delete. Up from that, that right there. I'm sorry. split element. In AutoCAD, it's called partial delete. So let's say you wanted to cut a little hole in one of those walls. Pick that.
Okay.
And then go click on a wall. And then click a second space. Go down a little bit. Yep, no, you were right. There you go. And it should take that middle piece out. So what happens is that split that wall from one to the other. Hit escape 2 times.
Oh,
So,
okay. So it created its own segment.
right. Now, typically, you would be thinking we're going to put everything in as windows. If you in your 3D view would orbit around so you can find that little piece that you just drew. It's right there. It's right there in the middle of that. That's the one right there. So I want to show you that the reason we sometimes use that split element is if you pick that object, that wall, and I want you to change its wall style. So over in the properties at the top, we change its wall style right there. Now, if you scrolled all the way down, you see the one that says storefront?
Yeah.
We could change that to a curtain wall and watch what that is. That's fine. You can just say delete elements. And what that did was put like a glass face in that wall.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I got you.
So in industrial buildings, typically most people when they're first coming into Revit, they just think of the window command. However, a lot of times we draw with glass walls on commercial type projects, and those are called curtain walls. They're a very special wall style. So the first thing that a person does is really lays out all of their walls
Right.
for the footprint. Now, it might be a good idea to start slapping some dimensions if you were trying, but you can see anytime you pick any object, dimensions show up automatically. Pick another object, pick another one. You see how that's 70 foot? If you said, no, I wanted that to be more like 60 feet, you would just click on the 70 foot and type in 60 feet. And you see how it pulled that whole wall forward? And then
Yeah.
you could say, now the one that takes a little bit of getting used to is in order for it to make that 60 feet, it takes the wall you selected as the one that you moved. So maybe you actually wanted your building to get longer. So you would pick that other little end wall.
Right here.
Nope, at the top, the top one. The 60 feet should show up again. But now when you turn it to 70 or 50, it's going to move the wall that you had highlighted. See that?
Okay.
That's temporary dimensions. That typically I haven't seen a lot of. So what ends up happening is when I'm teaching CAD people, we typically go back and we throw all those dimensions on and then we make those dimensions good numbers. What I want you to understand is I really started being able to do things fast when I was able to utilize and understand how those temporary dimensions worked. Make sense?
Yeah.
So let's go hit escape 2 times. What that's going to do is get you out of that modify. It should have got you out of the modify command, but it didn't. Go back to that architectural tab. So the next thing you did was you placed a door, right? You tried a door.
Yes, I have tried a door.
So put a double door in that thing for me.
Um.
Usually it's best. Now go to your plan view. Go to your plan view. Click with your roller wheel one time.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Doesn't matter where.
Nope, doesn't matter where.
Okay.
Now you would go and you would also you draw your interior walls and you would add your doors and your windows. But what if you have a door? How about a garage door? Can you put a garage door into one end? And you see, that was why I was asking you to do that. I don't know their template anymore, but I had a feeling there wasn't going to be a garage door in here.
Yeah.
So that's where people get very frustrated in Revit, because that means that you have to load a family. Now, for the typical ones, they've given us some, and we're going to see how good your load did. But what we do is, if that family, a garage door, is not in our project, on the top bar, the third one from the end says load family.
This very
No,
top bar?
no, I'm sorry. Our main tool palette. That one, right? That down a little bit. Right there. Third one from the end on the other end is load family. Nope. Look on the right side, but
Oh, I
there,
got you. I'm sorry.
there you go. Don't be sorry. No, it's better that you have to search for it, because that's what other people are gonna have to do.
Yeah.
So we say load family.
Okay.
All right. And this is where you have no families. And I see they've given you something. You see that? Are you looking for content? Go to www. Interesting. Interesting. And that's a family? That's pretty interesting how they're handling this. And remember, I told you I haven't seen this before in 2025. So
Right.
what I want to show you, let me see.
This could also be because I'm in viewer mode.
No.
No?
I'm gonna, if you don't mind, open up the StreamYard so that you can see me. Can you see me actually drawing?
Yeah, I can see it. Your screen.
All right, I'm gonna try to catch up to you real quick. Do you see how my template had those couple things deleted? And all you'd really done to this point is drawn your L-shaped building.
Right.
And then you needed a door. You said, you see how in my template, they didn't even load the double door. When I told you to put a double door, I was hoping you were going to get jammed up with double door, but they put that in the template. Does that make sense? Just like they put the key, the scale and the north arrow, they've added stuff to the template, which it means you can do more on day one, but it means you're going to then be limited. So what I said to do was go to load family right out here, right? That's where you went, and you didn't have any of these.
Yeah.
All right. And see, that's where it used to be that you would go get a double, a residential, and there's a garage door flush, and then I would stick that guy in, and it would give me my garage door.
Okay.
We need to discover how they're doing it with yours. So if you'll pull your Revit back up, I'm going to kick you back onto the screen once you do.
I got it back up.
All right. So they're saying something about, are you looking for content? Go to, can you stretch that so that we can read the rest of that?
Go to www.autodesk.com/Revit content.
All right. Let's do that. Let's see you do that. So you're going to need a web browser. There you go. Autodesk.com.
/ what was it? Revit content.
Uh-huh. And guess what it says? Where's 2025?
Autodesk account within the product update section. So I had to have an account to get the families?
Oh, why don't you just try to get the Revit 2021 or 2020, the bottom one? All right. Hold on. I think I would download the second one. No, the first one, Imperial. Uh-huh. Now, wait before you close that window.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and do the extract. Is it already doing it? Program of Revit. Yep. All right. Let's go back to our Revit. If you go up a folder, you know how to go up a folder? At the right where it says the word preview, there's a little folder with an up arrow. Nope, other side of the screen, top of this. That's it.
Right here?
Nope. Back right there, up a level. Uh-huh. Hit that up a level one.
Where?
No, the other way. That
Okay, I got you.
right. Go up a level. Go up a level again. Let's see, and up one more level. Was there a Revit 2020? Where did it add those? Oh, go up one more. Go to Revit 2020. Family templates. English eye. And annotation. We need to go back to that one we downloaded. We must have downloaded the templates.
So
You can leave that thing up. Just leave that thing up. Go back to your browser window where you visited autodesk.com.
okay.
Yep. You see how it says family templates? That's not what we wanted. We wanted the family content. And notice how it says Revit 2020, Australia, Belgium, Canada. Let's see. We're going to scroll down a little bit more. What would it be called? USA Imperial. That's it. That's it. And that's going to take it a minute. That's going to take it 1.1 gigabyte. All right. And while that's doing that, we can talk a little bit.
Okay.
You can go back to your Revit. Actually, I'd rather show it on your screen. This has always been a contention. Lots of people that I've tried to help get learning in Revit, they couldn't get those libraries correctly, and it frustrated them. So that's perfect. That's right where you want to extract that to.
Okay.
That didn't take very long at all. You must have a good bandwidth.
I got a gigabyte.
You got a good bandwidth. Starlink?
No, it's Spectrum.
Spectrum. I think that's what the Starlink was giving me when I was out in Montana. So if we went back to that Revit now, we should find that stuff. If you go up the folders like we did before. Uh-huh. There you go. The libraries are now added. U.S. Imperial. And then now, if you went underneath doors, and I went into residential to find a garage door.
This
And
is the one you used, right?
And I just picked one because, like I said, now here's the thing. These families are pretty good to get you started. But when you start doing the real BIM coordination, these families need to be made to what they're actually purchasing. Whether it's an Anderson door or a Pella window, you have to actually build these families. And that's the frustration that most of the industry is in right now. Go ahead and do the open so that it'll pull in. It's probably going to tell you it needed to upgrade. And that's why I said we needed to do everything in 2020. But now you've got a family. And what happens is, if you notice, it depends which side of the wall you're on. You see that?
Yeah.
And that's the proper way to stick him in. You would see that you actually just got in your 3D view a garage door just added to that end. You should be able to do your shift in your pan. Right?
Yep.
So we talked about ways to select objects. Hit escape 2 times. We talked about ways to select objects. Remember, there was that click and drag, and you could do the crossing window or the window. There was the ability to pick a wall, pick one wall, and then to hold your control button and pick another wall. So can you pick the top 2 walls or the top 3 walls right there? How would you pick those 3 walls? You could pick like that. You holding your control button, right? That would pick those 3 walls. I want to show you the final way, because if you look at your keyboard along the left side, do you see the keys that go up? It's Control, Shift, Caps Lock, Tab.
Yeah.
Well, you are going to want your one hand to be on the Control, Shift, and the Tab. So go ahead and click once in white space so nothing is selected. Now, hover over a wall and hit Tab. You see
Okay.
what it selected all the way around that chain.
Yeah.
All right. Now, what I want you to do is hover somewhere else for a second. Go back and pick that wall that you were hovering over. And go down and pick the other short wall, the other short leg at the other end of the building. Hover. Now, if you're right there and you hit Tab, it's going to select those top 2 walls. But if you slide past the halfway point to the lower half of that wall and hit Tab, it's going to select the other 2 walls. It's connecting the 2 walls together. So hit Tab and you'll see what it does.
Oh, okay.
You see how that's selected?
Yeah.
That's real important, that selection method. And you see, that's where in the typical class, we're flying so fast trying to teach you all the actual buttons that I never really spent the time to teach people these couple little things. What buttons? Control, Shift, and Tab, right? Because we use the Shift and the pan button to rotate. Well, what would happen is if you picked all those walls, so pick on it when you do that. All right, so all the walls, let's say there was a wall or 2 that you didn't want picked in there. You would hold your Shift button in. See how it's a minus symbol now?
Yeah.
And it would subtract anything from that selection set. So if you clicked on that, it would take that wall out of selection.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we got you to load the families, and that was actually really an important step because that happens to about 60% of the people. So I'm glad that happened. Go place a couple windows. Just
Do you want me to load the families, or do you want me to just do a window?
why don't you try to load a family or 2 if you want? You got to pick window first.
Okay.
Then that load family comes up.
Okay.
And you see you're in the residential doors.
Yeah.
So you would want to go back up to US Imperial. Yep. And then you would find windows are listed down there. Perfect. Now, stop. This is a special type of family. This family, if we went and looked at its folder, and that's exactly what we're going to do in a second, has a text file in there with it. So it gives you all of the standard sizes. I don't know if it's good, bad. To me personally, it's a little bit frustrating, but what you have to now do, right, is pick which size windows you want. I want a 48 by 24. Click on the actual type. Yep. Click right in there, one of those guys. Yep. And then you could add another one to that list as well. So maybe you wanted a couple, maybe you wanted the 6-foot window too. I'd just pick any other one. I think you might have to do the control.
Probably. Yeah.
Okay.
And then select OK.
And then you select OK. It upgraded those. It said you already had those in there. So go ahead and say overwrite. And overwrite. And overwrite.
And I can just place these in.
Yep. Once again, the side of the window or the side of the wall you're picking on is important. That's, I believe, supposed to be the exterior side of the wall. It depends how that family's written, and believe me, we're going to get deep into families. But you should see those windows are getting placed in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. One thing that's driving me a little, I see, it's because there's glass in there. I'm curious about how that view's set up. If you hit escape 2 times, right next to the 1/8 inch in the model view, not that one on the other view, on the 3D.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You see how that is the settings for just that one view. The next one over, what is it set for? Click on that. Turn that to shaded. I just want to see what happens when it does shaded. All right, now to be honest with you, I typically work with that in shaded view because you can see why, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're not doing the realistic mode, and for a small building, the realistic mode isn't bad, but when you get to a real large building, the realistic mode can be a little bit frustrating on how it works.
Okay.
In other words, it'll be a little bit draggy. It's really weird for me to see Revit with a dark mode because they didn't add that till just recently. I think in 2024, maybe 2023. So you used to be able to change your backgrounds to a dark color.
Right.
I always preach to people that it was important for you to leave it in that white mode because there's certain color objects, like the color that the dots at the end of the wall are.
Yeah.
That is something that I was used to how it looked like in the white, and if you changed it to black, you had problems. But I haven't worked in this dark mode yet, so we're just sort of gonna hang tight with that.
I wonder if there's a way to change it.
No, I just think it's very ironic that they changed it so out of the box it's in dark mode. To me, that's a little bit disappointing when for 15 years they made me work on it in the white mode and people begged for it to be in the dark mode. That dark mode is something CAD went to a long time ago and realized it's very beneficial. It's better, it's easier on the eyes than my white mode. It would probably be the biggest thing that would make me want to upgrade to the newer version of the software is the ability that it can run in dark mode. So I'm jealous.
So you prefer the dark mode?
I prefer the dark mode, but there is no dark mode in 2020.
Okay.
So if you notice, normally when I'm working on it, it's got the white screen.
Yeah, all the white space.
Exactly. So we went through the wall. I want to go back one more time to the wall. If you zoom into one of your walls, zoom into like a corner of the building.
On the
Yeah.
3D model?
Right. Yep. Just roll your wheel a little bit. Let me see a little bit closer. You see the wall type that you put in is this pretty special wall type. If you pick the wall.
Okay.
All right. This type wall, which is in the template, has sweeps built into it. Okay.
Okay.
Now that that's a good way to go sometimes, but sometimes like those bands that you're seeing at the bottom, they don't go all the way around. You only have that on the front of the building. So I typically don't like to build my sweeps into the walls. So, but I'm going to show you where those sweeps are. So if we went over to the properties, right?
Okay.
That was where we picked our wall type. You see right below that it says edit type.
Yeah.
Hit that.
Okay.
Okay. So this is a important thing. This there'll be like the twin brother of this will happen for our floor and for our roof. In other words, we're going to be able to edit the type, but all of these are called system families, and they have a little bit similar flavor to them. But the big thing that we do when we want to edit a wall is the very top button is the structure, and you can hit edit on that. Okay. Stretch our window so it's a lot so small. Make it a little bit bigger so that dialog box is a little bit bigger. If you grab the lower corner, you can do the upper, but
Oh, lower
perfect.
corner is better.
Yeah, well, there's a little symbol down there. See,
Oh, I
what
got you. Yeah,
I wanted you to be able to see all of that stuff without it being congested in a little spot.
I got you.
So this is how a wall is made. And the big thing to understand is at the top of this list, it says the exterior side, and at the bottom of the list, it says the interior side. That means that on the out, you see where I'm talking about the word exterior side and interior side?
No.
All right, right at the very top of that list. Go straight up from where you're at. Nope, straight. Come over a little bit more to the right and up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you.
All right.
Yeah.
It's always been a little bit hidden and most people don't realize this, but what this is saying is the first object that I've got in there is brick. It's on the outside of the wall. And then as I go deeper into the wall, then I start to get air space, and then I get a piece of plywood, and then I get a stud, and then I get a vapor retarder, and then I get a layer of gypsum board. Do you see how that wall is written?
Yeah, so it's layered between the interior and the exterior.
That's correct.
This is closest to the interior, and this is closest to the exterior.
Correct. Now, what I want to see is I want to see the sweeps. And see, this has always been a frustration because right now, what I really want you to do is I want you to click on the button that says sweeps, but it's grayed out. Right?
Yeah.
What does it say right above that list?
Right above the
Nope.
list?
Nope, right above the word sweeps. The
Okay.
title of that box says,
Modify vertical structure section preview only.
what does that tell you? Anything?
Um,
Not really.
no.
See the little preview button down at the bottom?
Yeah.
Hit that. All right. Still not available. What we have to do is we have to change that guy's view. You see where it says view floor
Yeah.
plan? Change that to section. Now the sweeps button just came on.
Okay.
Okay.
You want me to click it?
Yep.
Okay.
And you're going to see that this thing has 3 sweeps in it.
All right, and those are these things, right?
Those are those things. Correct.
Okay.
Now, what I want you to do is I want you to just go ahead and delete those off of there. Once again, the delete button is grayed out until you select one. So you did good. You selected one, and the delete button became ungray.
Can I
Now
just
you hit the delete. You can't select them all at once.
okay.
Delete. Now delete, and then delete. Say OK, and you'll see in the section box. It didn't actually say it yet in the section box.
Do I have to press OK for it?
one more, but there's one more I want you to do, the reveals. Sweeps and reveals. So the reveals, and remove them guys. Perfect. Say okay, and okay, and okay, and you're gonna see. Wait, before you hit. Yeah, that's
Oh.
fine. You're good with that. You're good with that. You would have noticed it took the cap off the top, and it put the brick soldier, and it took those reveals, and all it left was those two different materials, the CMU down below and the brick above.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you that the way they did that was with a split. And I don't typically do that. I typically would add that as a smarter object. It would look better in section. They just work better. So this is a very old wall style that they had in their template, right? And they're still providing it 20 or 15 years later. Actually, about 19 years later. It's just a hard way to start because it's so hard to edit it. So let's go back in and edit that type and take that split out of there as well. So now we went to structure and hit the edit button. At the top, the top property says structure, and there's an edit button. Come down a little bit from where you're at. Come down.
I got you. Okay. I'm just
You
trying to
will
remember.
do this. You will do this so many times.
Yeah.
That it will stick. And I mean so many times today and tomorrow that it will stick. So
Okay.
trying to get this split off is an absolute bugger. So if we zoom into where the bottom of that blue is in your view, in your section view, remember the section view we turned on? Roll your wheel.
Oh,
you're in section, roll it in. What we have to do is try to get rid of that split. And I think if you pick that line, see if you can pick that line right there between the blue and the gray one.
right
Is
here?
there a line? Yep.
No.
No. All right. How about if we go to the number 2 in the list of objects, pick on the number 2 and the hit. How about if you go to the number 1? Either one of those will allow you to delete. Boy, oh boy. Let's see. Gotta give me a second. I'm catching up on my side. That was brick on CMU. Brick on CMU metal stud. That was him. Edit type. And then structure. And then show your preview. Make your preview in section mode. And then you deleted all the sweeps. Delete, delete, delete. And then you deleted all the reveals. It's funny because if you don't do this regularly, all right, now split regions. Modify? No. That's that one. That's that one. How did you have to? We may have to come back to this one. Modify. When you pick modify, merge regions. You see where the merge regions button is?
Yeah.
Right above split region. Hit that.
Okay.
And then click on the line between the two regions. So hit merge regions. Yep. Click on that. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, if you look at the properties, if you look on the exterior side and come down to the first one, you're going to see that it says brick common with a 0 thickness.
Yeah.
We want that to say 3 5/8 thickness.
Okay.
3 5/8 inch. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, Eric.
Howdy.
I could have used you, man. We were just going over how to remove a split in a bad wall style.
You
All right,
just
so
you have to click on it and delete it, right?
no, you have to hit merge regions.
That's right. That's right.
It's been so long. So now what you're going to need to do, Nathan, is the number 2 slot. Pick on the number 2 and delete that. See, because what it did now is it had a layer of brick, then a layer of concrete. Now we're back to our right wall style. And if you hit OK, it's just going to be brick on metal stud.
Okay.
Okay. And OK one more time. And see how when we make that one change, it did it to the whole project.
Yeah.
You with me?
Yeah.
That's where when Eric and I were talking the other day about Softdesk, you would make a change and then you would have to go do that change again. And then you'd have to go do that change again. And if you're not careful in how you build, that's what ends up happening. Now, what the reason I wanted you to strip those reveals and all that stuff off is that made your building look very well developed when you first started drawing. But what ends up happening is the designer, and we're treating you right now, you learning Revit as if you were going to do it for an architect or an engineer on a design level.
Okay.
We'll end up getting into the BIM coordination by the time we're wrapping this up. But where I'm going for is an architect would say, no, I don't want those bands there. I want one band here, and then I want a wide band here. I wanted to actually teach you how to put those bands in the way that I would put those bands in. So the way they were in there already, they were on every one of those wall styles.
Yeah.
Underneath the wall command, there was a little arrow below the wall. And if you notice at the very bottom, there's a wall sweep and a wall reveal. So now let's do a wall sweep. And it's going to be putting a cornice in, and then you just go click a wall in your 3D view. I'm sorry. I should have said that.
Doesn't matter what height.
No, we're going to adjust it after you put it in. What I want you to do is you pick one wall, now pick the next wall next to it. And say, now we can hit escape. And what you will see is it put that wall sweep right there. Now you pick on that wall sweep. There you go. Good job hovering. And you could actually move that up in elevation. I think there's probably some dimensions in there that you could click on. You see those temporary dimensions right above your window in the 3D view. There's a little window. You see that? There you go. So you could say this is 1 foot from the top of the building. Right?
Right.
Now, on our top toolbar, our main toolbar, when you have that sweep selected, you'll see you can add walls and you can modify returns. So this is where it do add walls. And I'll be honest with you, this takes a little bit of tricky driving. That's why I wanted to do it with you, because it can't really be described in any other way. Now you have to use your shift and your pan wheel to rotate around the building in your 3D view and pick that next wall. Uh-huh.
Okay. And
Hit it. It didn't add it. Go back to your sweep and say add remove walls and pick your next wall. The edge of the wall. There you go. That was the difference. You got to be careful whether you're picking in the middle of the object or the end of the object. And you see, at first, it was very difficult for me to do that orbiting, to do that, to add that sweep there.
yeah.
Once you get good at it, you can actually do that. And I'll be glad to show you how you could just stay in that. You say add, pick that top wall. Now do your rotate. Nope, you shouldn't have hit the escape.
Oh no, I got you.
You with me?
Yeah.
Now do your orbit. Now there you go and pick. See, you're picking, you're off by one sequence. You should be able to add all those walls all the way around. Go ahead and pick that next wall.
Ah, okay.
See, that's what you weren't doing before. Now, you can do that same thing to add a reveal. So you can add these sweeps and these reveals. Notice how it was two different ways. One by having them built into the wall, and one by us going and adding them to the walls that we've created.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Right.
All right. So what we're about an hour and a half into this. Somewhere I thought it told me how long we were broadcasting. There we go, an hour and 16 minutes.
Being able to manually add those sweeps would definitely be beneficial, especially talking to an architect.
Well, what ends up happening is those sweeps a lot of times don't go all the way around. Also, the wall style will start to change. I want to show you one other thing. Do you remember how we split that one wall and turned it into curtain wall?
Yes.
Right. It's in the corner of our view. It's that big piece of glass curtain wall. What I want to show you is another thing about walls. So if in plan view, you zoomed into that area that we're looking in the plan view, right? Perfect. What we did was we actually have three different walls there, right? We have one on the right, yep, and then the curtain wall, and then the one on the left. Well, you don't actually have to split that to do that. So if you were to add a wall, and I want you to go to storefront this time, so add a wall, and then go to the type right there and make that say storefront. Keep going. There you go. All right. Now this wall, it says it goes up to height level L2. I want you to change that to unconnected. And
Okay.
make it go 10 feet tall. All right. Now what you're going to do is you're going to draw that wall right on top of the brick wall that's already there. Do it at the, yeah, right there. Now, there you go, right in the center of the wall. Now watch what ends up happening. Draw yourself a little piece of wall.
Ah.
Yeah, right? Pretty
Okay.
cool.
Yeah.
And if you zoomed in on plan view, you would find it actually looks relatively good. Now, one of the things that you're in plan view is you're in simple mode. Let's change that to more detailed mode, right next to the 1/8 of an inch. Change
Fine.
that to, yeah, fine or medium are both going to do the same.
Okay.
What's going to happen now is you're going to see that layer of brick. You're going to see that layer of gypboard. You're going to see all those layers and how they end up coming into engage with that curtain wall. That
Okay.
makes sense?
Yeah.
So where most people go wrong is if they're doing a commercial building, there's very few windows in a commercial building. Most of them are actually walls, which are curtain walls. So let's take a look at what a curtain wall looks like on properties. So if you zoom back in there and got on top of that curtain wall that we just drew, yep, selected it. Now, the reason most people get frustrated with those curtain walls is there's several different things. We're going to have to play with how you select them, but you've got it exactly. You've selected the curtain wall storefront. If you hit edit type, it's not going to have the word structure at the top. Instead, it's going to be this special type of wall. And what it's telling you is how many space, what do you want the spacing to be in the horizontal? What do you want the spacing to be in the vertical? What type of glass panel and what type of mullion? So we can make all of those adjustments, and we will make all of those adjustments. But for right now, we're just getting into the fundamentals. But I think that it's important. Something I never did is for the average commercial building, you're really not drawing walls, doors, and windows. You're drawing walls, curtain walls, and doors.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which gets us to a point that a person gets very frustrated because could you put a door, please, in that curtain wall that you're looking at right there?
Do you want me? I can just exit out of this and place a
Yep.
door.
Yep. That's exactly what I want you to try to do.
Okay.
So you're going to just put either a double door or a single door in that guy. And yeah, okay. That's going to sort of look like it works, but it's not really. It says can't create curtain wall mullion. Say delete element. Let's see what it does. If you zoomed in there, you're going to find it didn't do what you thought it did. But look at that, Eric. They can actually put a door in a curtain wall now. Can you put a door in that other curtain wall that we drew? So in the plan view, zoom out and go to the other curtain wall. Nope, that was a window. That was the window.
Is that?
Yep.
Oh, this
yep.
is it. I got you.
That's it right there. That's the one I wanted to see if you can put a door in. Okay, no, you can't. It actually put the wall. It put the door in the wall that was containing the curtain wall. Interesting. That would really confuse someone. Do you see how you cannot put a door in a curtain wall?
Yeah.
Right? So that typically is going to make most people say, well, I need to use doors and windows. And as I said, it will be 2-3 years before you realize that that's a bad idea. So I want you to go to door again. And I want you to say load family. Okay, back yourself up to get to the door category. And you see how it says door, curtain wall, double glass?
Yeah.
Let's pick that one.
Yes.
It's just saying, do you want a new set of files? And you can say no to that. You can say no to that. See, what happens now, escape, is it loaded that curtain wall panel, that door, into your family. But that door is not a door, it's a curtain wall panel. Okay. So, and I understand that this is probably, you got to be almost saying, what the fuck at this point? Okay. But this is how hard it really is. Once you get this under your belt, you'll be 6 months ahead of people. People that start Revit and don't have formal training, even if they did take a beginner class. Do you remember anyone ever teaching you how to do this, Eric?
Yeah, you did. And I apologize. I walked away for a minute. Did you say you can put a door in a curtain wall now?
No. It was the containing wall that received that door.
Okay.
So if you want to delete that door that's in front of you, Nathan,
Yeah.
go ahead and say delete those elements. It turns that curtain wall back to it's supposed to be. Here's why they don't try to teach this in the beginner level classes, and I don't know which class they ever do, is because it's very hard to select this object. What I need you to do is in the 3D view, I need you to select that curtain wall panel. So click once in the space. All right. Notice how when you move that cursor around, it selects different objects. If you move it up, you see how when you moved it up? Now, we can also do the same thing by hitting a tab. So if you hover over and tab, do you see how it picks the curtain wall? Tab again, keep tabbing. See how it picks the curtain wall grid? I need you to be on the edge of that center panel. Go to the edge of the center panel. Nope. Go to the other side of that. You're good. Right there. Now do your tab. And again, and again, and again.
There it is.
That's the one you're looking for.
Okay.
Pick. You have now selected the curtain wall panel. Okay?
Okay.
Now on this actual curtain wall style, that is locked. I need you to turn that pin off. Now you can actually change it. Go over to the properties and you see where it says system panel glazed. Go up a little bit higher. Up right there. Hit that. And we should see one that says curtain wall panel double. Let me see. Where's
I think he has to load it.
No, I think we loaded it. I swear we loaded it. Curtain wall, storefront, curtain wall. Nope, we did not load it. I swear we loaded it.
Do you want me to load the family in?
Scroll up on there. Keep going, keep going, keep going. There's no doors up there. Yeah, we're going to have to load it again.
Okay.
But we're also going to teach you a different way to load it. So the way we loaded that, the way we've been loading it is you go to architecture and you go to door and then you said load.
Yeah.
Right? Do that. Now stop right here. Okay. What I want you to do is right click on the word commercial and say open. You see how that opened up a my computer window?
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead and hit cancel on the window below. Now bring that my computer window back up to the top. All right, so what happens is we're now, and you, if you can make that window just a little bit bigger so we can see a little bit more. We're in a my computer window. If you go back to doors, so you know how to go in a my computer window, back up one. Yep, that's it. You'll see right there's your curtain wall, double storefront.
Yeah.
Drag that and drop that into Revit. So you know how we did that? You know how we did that load family? You don't ever have to do that. So let's go back to your my computer window for a second. Let's go all the way up to US Imperial. Right? Now, do you see where there's a little search window on your my computer? It says search US Imperial.
Yeah.
Type in bed. There's all the different beds that without you having to surf for them.
Huh.
Right? So now you could drag any one of those, just for giggles, just drag it into your plan view, just one of them, and watch what happens. Boom. Now you're ready to place that bed.
That is a lot quicker.
You think? Now, what would be even better is if we gave someone 10,000 of those families so they had them all available. So when they need any type of piece of equipment, they could put them in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's how I typically load families into my project. If I'm not creating the family on its own, which we should be doing probably by about the end of this week.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Let's go back to our Revit in our 3D view. Now that we have a window loaded, I want you to select that center panel. Excellent recall, dude. Perfect. Now go up to the properties. Now we should see the door, curtain wall, double door storefront. Perfect. That's him. Notice in plan view, that's how you add a door to a curtain wall.
Okay.
And that's why most people don't use curtain walls, at least for the first. It took me probably 3 years before I was really ready to start using curtain walls. I will tell you now that I could smoke someone in one day. They would be sitting there, look, I got all of my walls for my high rise. And I'd be like, look, my high rise is done because of the use of curtain walls. Now, do you see at the bottom, there's a mullion going below the door? Can you select that bottom mullion? Yep, tab till you select it. There you go. That's it. Unpin it and hit delete.
And you'll notice as you do this multiple times that tab goes in a certain order. It's going to first select the whole curtain wall, then it'll usually get the frame, then it'll get the panel.
Okay.
So we got through the walls, the doors, and the windows. That component, ironically, that was what you just did when you added a bed. You see, when you go to component, the next button on our list,
Yeah.
right? That's just adding one of those families. So this is where basically you got two choices: is to load the family or if it's already been loaded. And notice it remembered the bed.
Yeah.
Right. But see, I'm saying I wouldn't typically do that I very rarely do I pick the component button and then go add the component. What I would do is I'd pull that my computer window up, or I have it sitting on a second monitor, and I would now do a search for a chair. And then I would be able to put my chairs in. Right?
Yeah.
And you just pick a chair and you just drag and drop it into your site, and then there it is, right? Now, I want to show you something very interesting when you're placing those components. So if you'll go, I don't normally like to jump out of the order of the architecture tab, but I need you to go to the annotate. No, you know what, better yet? Why don't you just draw me a wall? And now I want you to draw this as a curved wall. Nice, where you pick the line. You don't ever have to pick that. It automatically goes to that. But I want you to draw me a little curved wall in the center of that building. The first one works good. You'll play with them all. This is a 3-point curve. You draw the start point, the end point, and then the amount of curve distance. Start point, end point, and then you're going to see, yep. Now, here's what's happening. What did I tell you Revit does? It remembers the last kind of wall you were drawing.
I'm drawing a curtain wall storefront.
Right, and the curtain wall storefront is not going to show the arc. See, if you go up, you do one of those interior partitions, we're not really picky about this. Now go to that. You're still in that arc command. That's fine. You can change that.
Okay.
First point, second point, and then the amount of sag. There you go. That's what I was looking for, something like that. Correct. Now
Okay.
I'm going to show you something really cool. So if you now hit component, remember, it's going to remember the last thing you were drawing, which was that chair.
Yeah.
While you're hovering over top of that curved wall, hit the space bar. And one more time. Now you'll notice if you suck it in, it's going to follow that radius. Come off of there. There you go. Like you're not putting a chair in the wall. Come inside a little.
Okay.
You see what it's doing?
Yeah. It kind of
orbits. Kind of orbits it right around there.
Okay.
See, and then you would just start picking, pick, and you could put 5 chairs lined up alongside that wall. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Once again, that's one of those things that it takes you a long time before you realize how that works and how that can be to your advantage. So instead, another person coming from CAD would put that first chair in, and then they try to rotate it, and they wouldn't get it rotated exactly, and then they would try to rotate and copy again. You could quickly lay that out and have those chairs lined up in there. Don't get me wrong, we're going to teach you better ways than that to put it in there, but it is very beneficial. If that wall, what if that wall's just at an angle?
What do you mean?
Draw yourself a wall, a straight line wall at an angle.
Okay.
Yep. Like a little angled wall in there, because this is a reception area. Straight line, not curved. And then just go at a crazy angle. There you go, 35 degrees. Now
Okay.
try your chair trick. Put your chair, hover, space bar, and now your chairs are lined up to that. You
Yeah,
see how,
I could definitely see how that's a lot quicker.
well, especially if you're doing a sports arena, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that would be so much better.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we're going to have even better than that when we start doing the sports arena, okay? Because Eric and I have both worked on multiple ones. And you see, that's the whole thing is, you could say I'm a Revit user, and yes, I can put a chair in, but do you know these little tricks? And that's why I really wanted to try to highlight this stuff as you're learning it, because it's really about those temporary dimensions. It's really about how you hover and select and knowing the difference between a crossing window and an enclosed window.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, our other class that we're going to be running completely separate of this is going to be how we build those families.
Okay.
We're not going to mix the two together right now. We're just doing get through all of these Revit commands. So we looked at the wall, and if you wouldn't mind clicking that little down arrow below the wall.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So wall architectural and wall structural, those are just two different types of walls. And what happens is we have the ability to say whether it's a structural wall or an architectural wall. Structural wall being that it's supporting some of the framing and stuff.
Yeah.
Don't need to get deep into that. The next one below that says something wall by face. We're going to stay away from that because we're not going to be making those crazy type shapes because the average job doesn't include those. Okay. And then
Okay.
the last two that you had was the wall sweep and the wall reveal. But you'll notice, why can't you pick those? Do you have any
Because I'm not selecting a wall already.
Well, try that and see if that works.
Okay, no.
That was a good. So, in other words, I liked your guess. But the reason is because you're in a plan view. So, if you went to the model view and clicked with your roller wheel to activate that view, you see how the border sort of had a little bit of a highlight around it?
Yeah.
Now you'll find those wall sweep and reveal are available.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a little bit tricky, but see, that's what happens to people is they're like, I can't do the wall sweep because it's not available because maybe I didn't load it. Or maybe you just weren't in a 3D view, whereas you have to be in order to add those wall sweeps.
Yeah. I got you.
You got me?
Yeah.
Let's go look at that wall sweep that you put in because I wanted to show you the modify ends. All right. So if you pick that wall sweep at that top, yep.
Okay.
All right. Zoom into where the little blue dot is. Okay. If you clicked on that blue dot and drug, there's actually two blue dots there. Click and drag it. Now drag it. I want you to drag it back on the wall. Back to there you go. There you go. And watch how this opens that up. Click the other one and drag it as well. So what's so neat about the wall sweep is that he is by a profile. Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to really test this viewer mode, because with viewer mode, we know, well, we can't save anything. So typically what I would tell someone to do when I was going to teach them about wall sweeps is I would have them make a profile, save that profile, and load that profile in the project. But we can't do that with viewer mode because we can't save that profile.
Right.
But let's test the way I typically build families. So click once in your plan view, and I'll explain to you why you did this. Now go File, New Family. And I want you to go down to Profile.
Down to profile.
Yeah, you could scroll, or you could pick on one and type in a P, and it would jump you down there.
Which one?
The bottom one.
Okay.
And say Open. All right. So a profile is a type of family, and I think there's probably somewhere around 30 different types of families. But you see, that's why I wanted you to be in the plan view when you opened it, so that we can see the profile in this view. And when we push it, we can see what it does in the other view. So all a profile is a closed shape. So you'll notice when you're in that profile family, which you are, all we can do is basically draw lines and put detail components in it. There's not a whole lot of choices of what we can do. A different type family, the model type family, we have the make an extrusion, make a sweep, make a blend, and make a revolve. We don't have any of that. This is a 2D family that makes a closed shape, and that closed shape will be used a lot of times. So what we're going to do is we're going to just draw a line. See where the line is? Nope. Nope, that was a lined dimension. I meant line was right before that. So go to the create. There you go. You
Right
see
here.
where? There you go.
Okay.
When you click on that, you're going to see your typical draw shapes that you've got up there. And all what you want to be cognizant of is where those two green reference planes cross each other. That's where this is going to come in. So it's a good idea for you to start at that location. And all I want you to do is create a closed shape. So click. 8 inches good. Don't go much more than 8 inches. That's good. Now, all right, I like that. Now let's put an arc on it.
An arc?
Go pick your arc command, your curve command.
Right here?
Yep. Go down to the bottom green line. Click, and then go. There you go. That's exactly what I wanted. Now go back to your line command and close this thing off. If you have that closed shape, you've now made a profile. So now you load this into your project. It's now been loaded into the project, and its name is Family 1 because that was the first family you created.
Okay.
So over here on your sweep, pick your sweep guy. And let's edit the type. And you're going to find that you can't edit a whole lot about that sweep. But one thing we can do is add a material, and the other thing we can do is add a profile. Do you see where it says profile default?
Profile default.
Down a little bit, down just a little bit. Nope, too far down. You went right past it. Up, 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 up.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Profile. See the word default?
Yeah.
Make that say Family 1. Hit the little arrow. There you go. Family 1, Family 1. And say okay. Now, what happened? Can you see how it went into the wall?
Yeah.
So go back to that other tab where we were drawing the profile. It's on your floor plan side, that tab. All I want you to do is flip that thing around. So hit escape 2 times. Select everything with a window. Up at the top, there's a mirror command. Hit the mirror. Now don't go yet. Don't go yet. Don't go yet.
Okay.
Take the copy off. The checkbox for the copy. Remember, that's our speedometer area. That's the area I told you to keep an eye on, that little strip bar. It's going to take you a second. This is right above the property. No, up. Right.
Oh, okay.
There you go. You need to keep an eye on that thing when you select objects, select things, because that's control that a lot of people will miss. I tell people to watch that like it was your tachometer if you're driving a stick shift. It's how you know how to do finer things. You don't typically have to do anything, but I want you to take that copy off.
Okay.
And then I want you to pick that vertical green line and it'll flip it over. Now load that into the project. And to overwrite, and you'll see that that shape was made. See how that works?
Yeah.
All right. So now, one of the things that we can do with the sweep, pick the sweep, and we can modify returns. You see where it says modify returns up by the, pick that, and then you click one of those two blue faces with either one or both. And what you'll see is it'll return that as a curve back to the wall.
Is that standard?
What's that?
Is that standard? Like, will that always happen?
It'll always return it back to the wall like that. Yep.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing is, if we go back to that sweep, I'm actually want you to go to the actual profile. I should have said go back to your profile. Yep, right there.
Okay.
Now, if you wanted to put more detail on there or change this guy's shape a little bit, do you see how we just have to make a change to the shape? And when we load it into the project, it updates it automatically. That's where you would have had to, in any other software, go back and reapply that sweep or make a new sweep or adjust the sweep in a different way. This is where building with these profiles is so beneficial. So all I want you to do is just change what that thing looks like. Pick the top line. Pick the one blue dot, either one of the big blue dots. No, not that. That one. And pull it back a little bit. Perfect. Now put another little notch up on top of there. Draw some more lines. Create. I like it. I like it. That's pretty cool. Now load it into the project, and you'll see that it automatically applies itself everywhere you've put that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I got you.
Right? And that could be a precast shape or a GFRC. That's how we add those kinds of details. And the beauty part of it is, if we're able to set up our views correctly and make efficient views, you can make something that looks very incredible in a very short time.
Yeah. Now, I have a question.
Sure.
Would there be any way to change the material or the surface texture?
Absolutely. You pick on the sweep.
Okay.
And then you go to edit type. Very good. And right below where you change the profile,
Yeah.
you would change the material. Click that, hit the three dots. This usually takes a second, and then you could pick a material like wood. You could scroll down and pick a material, or I will be teaching you how to create a material. So feel free to pick one, and you'll see that it will affect it. Wood, I like it. And okay. And notice how it put that pattern on there as well, a hatch pattern. See how it put that line every 2 feet?
Right. Huh. Okay.
All right, let's go back to the architecture tab and see where we're at. Go to. We're going to see that we got through the first ones. We got through the wall, the door, the window, and the component.
Yeah.
Go to hit architecture at the top. There you go. So what we get into is a column, which is sort of funny. A column is exactly like a damn component in either strong architectural column. So if you go to the underneath part, two types of columns I think we can put, right? Structural columns and architectural columns.
Yeah.
All right. Structural columns are typically going to be wide. Architectural column, on the other hand, is something very special. So hit architectural column.
Why does it say structural column and the
below.
other one's column colon architectural?
Just good job, Autodesk. I don't know.
So you want me to select the architectural one?
But yep, because I want to review with everyone. Special creature. So go ahead and do it. In the properties, go to the properties.
I'm sorry, it's cutting out a little bit.
You're fine. You're fine. We're patient. Do you see where it says met? There you go. Can you make that just say
Brian, you're cutting out a bunch.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
It is difficult to hear what you're saying.
Bandwidth. You know where I'm going with this, Eric, right? Go to the rectangular column.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Pick any one of those. Now I want you to zoom into the corner of two walls. All right, put one column in free space. Put one column, move the walls, move it away from the walls. Put one column there.
Okay.
Yep, right there is perfect. Now go put
one in the corner.
And now put one on the outside.
Right here?
A little bit further in the wall. Nope, further out. So that it's sticking out halfway. There you go.
Okay.
So you see that it adopted the...
Zoom in and look what it did there. You can hit a...
So it adopted the material of the wall that it was in. The interior one adopted drywall. The exterior one adopted brick. And if you look at the third one, it doesn't have a material applied to it at this point.
Okay. I see what you're saying. It adopted everything that the wall had.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Can you hear Brian?
Architectural column.
All we got from you, Brian, was architectural column. This must be really...
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
But your video is choppy. I can hear you, but not now, not now.
I'm not saying anything right this second. Wonder why that would be.
It seemed to happen after I attempted to change the material. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but
it could. It could. Am I clear now?
It
Much
seems,
clearer.
yeah.
Your video is clear of you sitting there too. It's not as choppy. It was all fuzzy, pixelated.
I must have been suffering some bandwidth problems.
Maybe, but I can hear you much better now.
All right. I apologize for that.
It's okay.
So that my big point there was the difference between an architectural and an architectural column and a structural column. Most people don't realize if you make an architectural column that it'll do that job of wrapping that. And it's only if they're joined, and we will have a way to unjoin those. Now, zoom back out, and I want you to then pick the roof command. Make the floor slab, and then you pick the roof. By
You're
you
cutting out
doing it
again.
now, I'm cutting out again. I discussed to him how to select the walls.
All right. So if you go to the floor command,
Yeah.
now when you go out, you can draw lines. You see how it says boundary line?
Yeah.
That's gonna let you select the walls. So go down and you see how you select the walls, and you want to be closer to the inside. And you could actually hit a tab right now,
Okay.
and that'll select all your walls.
Okay.
And then now you click it, and you'll hit the green checkbox, and you now have your floor the shape of your building.
Okay, so it autofills once I press tab.
Correct. Now, when you do that, generally, there's going to be times where it's going to ask you a question after the fact. If the walls are going down to a foundation wall or something,
Yeah.
it's going to ask you if you want the floor to interrupt the walls, which is generally what you would do, because then it would go out and the stud does not run past the floor. The stud sits on the floor. So you would actually then help out your sections because it would cut that notch out for you out of the wall.
Okay.
But because your walls are right to 0 and your floor starts at 0 and goes down, it didn't ask you that question this time.
I got you.
You see how it even does the punch out where the curtain wall is?
Yeah.
It kind of knows what you're trying to do construction wise. If you zoom into it on plan, you'll see that it put it out to the outside face. Go up to the upper corner, the other corner in the top, because it looks like it was doing it better up there. You see how that blue is going into the window? I think the floor itself actually runs that whole distance up out to the substrate, because then the substrate will run past the floor.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can now.
You can now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're having Misty jumped too, and I don't think we have enough bandwidth to be putting on 2 meetings.
Gotcha.
So we're probably gonna have to get our bandwidth updated. But to answer your guys is where you're going with that floor slab actually went to the face of the structure. When you picked floor, if you go back and pick, notice at the top where I told you to always watch.
Yeah.
Do you see what it says? Extend into wall.
That's kind of what I was explaining to you, and the reason you're not seeing
that.
I'm sorry, we're losing you again, Brian.
I think we lost Eric.
No, I just stopped talking once you started. Yeah, they're really
interesting. Why would it happen at 11? It must be a conflict.
Yeah, it's really bad, Brian. We're getting like 2 or 3 words and then it drops out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it bad on my end?
No, I haven't heard you drop out at all. Have I dropped out?
No, no.
Okay.
I'm
It
going
seems
to
to be
leave
only
the
Brian.
studio and try to. I'm going to try to leave the studio and re-enter. Hope.
Go ahead. I was telling him about that the other day, and it makes it really hard to hear what's going on.
Yeah.
But that factor is actually, it's really nice when it comes down to it. You'll find it as a nuisance when you finish your floors. Like if you were to modify your floor shape or something, and then when you hit the green check box, it's going to ask you this question: do you want to? What happened there is you were doing a new floor and you didn't draw anything, so it didn't pick anything up.
Right.
But it's going to ask you if you want to heal the walls or cut into the walls or whatever. And sometimes you get annoyed by that, but you got to kind of just make sure you read that real quick and make sure, because there's it'll do 2 different things depending on how you answer that.
Right. And if I wanted to, just as basic knowledge and understanding, my floor is already down, correct?
Yep.
If I wanted to make changes to that floor, I couldn't just go back to floor and edit it here. I would have to
hit the red
right?
X. If you click on the floor, which is, you're going to want to, it's probably easier to grab in the 3D view. Select your floor. Now you can do edit boundary.
Okay.
And draw a square hole in the middle of that shape. Say it's your elevator shaft or whatever, your elevator pit, and then hit your green checkbox, and you'll see it's gonna cut that hole right in there for you.
Oh, okay.
Can you guys hear me any better?
Yep.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
So
and that shape you can do, you can do any kind of shape. So if you have a recessed floor in one area, and then you would just draw another floor and add your stair or whatever your interior wall is that closes up that space. You can add multiple islands. You can add round holes. You can, anything that, a majority of things you need to do. So if you did that and then you did a fillet command to trim those out. Wait, don't do that yet, because you got to have closed shapes or it won't know what to do. So do you have you done the trim command yet?
I think so.
Yep.
It's the one with the 2 that go into the 90. Right beside that, right to the left. Nope, the other way. There you go. And then just corner the two sticks that you don't need anymore out. So click on below that right there, that one, and then go to the wall. Go below the wall.
There you go.
There you go. And then do that same thing up top. It's gonna cut away outside of the 2 clicks. Nope, the other way. See how it did that?
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay, so trim, select wall.
There you go.
Oh, sorry. I got you.
And then hit the green checkbox and you're good.
Okay. And I was just thinking like that could be, say if that was on like the level 2, maybe like a first staircase.
Yep, absolutely. There's going to be numerous conditions where you're going to be able to do those kind of things, and if you ever get hung up and you're not sure how to do one, or if it's a weird shape or anything like that, anything you're not sure of, you're always going to have, we can answer the question, but it generally is going to work the same for a lot of tools. The island, you know what I mean by the island. If you have 2 shapes, one inside the other, it's going to create a hole. If you put a third shape inside that hole in there, you can actually have a piece of floating slab in there if you wanted to, or floor.
Right, because this is just empty space now.
Correct. So what it'll do is it goes, the first outer shape is solid, and then if there's a hole, it becomes a hole. And then if there's another hole, it becomes solid inside of that hole.
I got you.
And when you're doing rectangles, don't hesitate when you're in that line command up top there to click on the square. Go ahead and do it. See how there's a square
Oh,
right
yeah.
side there?
Yeah. I got you.
All right.
Yeah.
So you can see from that you could get pretty creative with how things are laid out, and that's going to be similar on roofs.
Any of the sketches,
any
on any
sketch.
of the sketch mode stuff, roof. Yep.
Okay. And
if you go back to the floor command.
Normally, or do you want me to edit this one?
No, I didn't want you to get into the mode. No, I don't want you to edit that one. Go back to the floor command. What I wanted to show you was underneath the floor command. Now, right there underneath, you see how it says floor slab edge?
Yeah.
All right, pick that. Now, in your 3D view, go pick a couple of the edges of that hole that you carved in there. Yep. Roller wheel, and then there you go. Pick 2 of those edges. That's fine. You can say okay.
Doesn't matter which one.
You have to go.
That's fine. That's fine. You're good.
How many do I pick?
You're good with that. Now hit escape 2 times.
Now spin that around so you can look at it from the bottom.
Pick that shape that was highlighted a second ago. You won't be able to see it because it's inside of it, because the turn down footing wanted him to pick the bottom edge. But I don't care about that. Right there, pick that. Pick.
Yeah.
All I want you to realize is this is the twin brother to the floor sweep. So do you see how it says over there in the properties, slab edge, thicken 24 by 12?
Yeah.
Hit the edit type right below that. Do you see where it says profile?
Yeah.
Make that say family 1, family 1. You remember the shape that you created?
In here.
I heard.
You cut out again.
To hear any shape that you create as a profile, you can put on as a wall or a floor slab edge. Just the same way we do it to a wall.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, typically what people do with floor slabs is do the one that you added the first time, which was the thickened slab, which we've now sort of messed up. Once you hit undo 2 or 3 times so it goes back to the other one. All right, perfect. If you hover over there, delete that one. Hit select and then delete that. Let's try that again. And what we're going to do is we're going to say architecture, floor slab edge. Now, in the 3D view, pick the bottom edge of the slab. That's what it wanted you to do. And pick another bottom edge. Now, orbit around so you can see this building from the underneath. At the edge of your slab. They call that a turn down footing. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Typically, when we pour a slab, we so that there's some strength so the concrete doesn't break. Does that make sense?
You cut out there for a second. All I heard was a little bit of the end.
Basically, what that's doing is that's thickening the floor up at the edge where it's going to sit on the footings or it's going to sit on the foundation wall or whatever, so that it just has more strength.
Okay, so right here at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Just gives more support. I got you.
Yeah, and we'll get into that more when we're going over construction processes or whatever. You know what I mean? So you kind of understand what those are more often, and it'll probably help if we have some drawings for you to look at so you can, understand what they're calling for.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what he's struggling with there. He was clear for a few sentences and then he dropped out again.
Yeah, I'm not too
Is
sure.
it back to the point where you're not picking me up anymore? I guess
We weren't. Yeah, now we are.
now you are.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to reach out to Comporium, see if I can get a better bandwidth. I wasn't expecting that. Misty's doing some training. Am I breaking up now?
No.
No. Yeah, Misty's doing some training with her company right now, and I think we're just running out of bandwidth.
When she's talking or when she's presenting, it must just be dragging it out and you're losing enough.
Yeah, and she's always been on the meetings with us before, so that's why we've never encountered this. She's actually now working.
That might be your issue then.
Just do me a favor. If I start breaking up again, just let me know. But let's continue on with the floor, just like you did the floor. You should be able to do the roof. I was hoping that you would realize Eric showed you how to hover over the wall and hit tab to select all the walls. You can do the exact same thing with the roof.
Yeah.
That's asking you what level you wanted to put it at. I think you did correct by saying L2 if that's your highest level.
Right.
And you're on your boundary line. So if you just hover over one wall, do you actually have to select walls for roofs, Brian?
No.
Oh, I think you were in the 3D view. There you go. Go to the 3D view.
I got you.
Okay, now do the tab. There you go. And then you see the purple line is showing you your shape. Now that's one of the questions I was asking you, or I was telling you about. So you can say yes. Go ahead and attach my wall to the roof.
Okay.
Now, what you would have probably wanted to do is with that purple shape, and we can still do it, is if you click on that and say edit profile.
This one right here?
Nope, the purple shape. Do the double click. Edit footprint. I'm sorry, edit footprint.
Edit footprint?
Up top, up in the menu box.
Oh, I got
there
you.
Go.
Okay.
Then if you do an offset, which looks a little different, that one right there. And we want to do an offset by, let's just say, we'll say say 2 feet just to get it outside the wall.
Okay.
And then turn copy off. And if you go down and you click on, don't click, hover over one of the purple lines. Do your middle wheel to get you back in the frame.
I got you. Okay.
Yep.
Now take it to the outside and then hit tab. Nope. That's all right. Not a problem. Okay, so hit tab so you select all the purple lines. There you go. And now go ahead and hit click and then hit your green thing. And you'll see you now have an overhang.
Okay.
I don't know why it didn't. Did it put it on there? Oh yeah, it's on there. Okay.
It's small.
It's just not. It's not enough of an overhang. And I think,
right.
to be honest with you, what happened was when you did it, you went to the inside of the wall. It might be better to grab the outside of the wall so that then the 2 foot comes off the outside of the wall. Where you would go to the inside of the wall is if you have a parapet and you have a flat roof up there, then you would want to go to the inside of the wall.
Okay.
Nate.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh.
Not sure what happened if he just lost his screen viewership.
Yeah, I put my screen up.
Oh, gotcha. Still breaking up, Brian.
I'm breaking up?
Horribly, yeah.
I had to talk him through what I'm going to do here, all right?
Okay.
Roof, level 2. Yeah.
Just take the router and the power cord, take them to them at Fort Mill, comport them, then they can give us a new router and we can just plug it right back in. They'll give us a better router.
A better router.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll try to do that today sometime.
So you see where I'm doing.
What he's saying is
Can you
you
hear
can do
me?
an overhang. Okay.
You can do your overhang from that.
You can put yes, you can put your 2 feet there, so you don't have to do that thing. The way I was telling you to do it is not the better way to do it. You want the overhang to actually be set by that.
Okay. Okay.
Correct. Now, what happens is then you could come in and select.
No, you're gone.
Yeah, you cut out after select.
And I'm not sure where he's headed with that. So what he's saying, I guess, is you can adjust your overhang at any point in time then after that. And you know that your point of your roof, your main outline of your roof is still attached to your walls.
Right.
And you see what he's doing is he's got one of those, he's got some of those at 2 foot, and he's got some of those one at 3 foot and a couple at 4 foot. So you can adjust your overhang by individual walls.
Okay. How would I, if I didn't have this 3D model, how would I be able to select?
The reason you're not seeing it in that plan is because that plan is got a view depth set to it that you're only seeing from 0. You're cutting at probably 3 foot or 4 foot, and you're looking down to -2 feet, and you're looking up to 12 feet or something like that. And your roof is at 22 feet.
Okay.
There will be a way that we can show you how to where you'll be able to see that, or you can then see the outline of the roof as a dashed line or something along those lines. But I don't want to get jumping too far ahead.
Okay. So
And you'll
right
see.
now,
Do you see the rounded wall in the middle of your building? You see how it's attached to the roof as well. You see how nicely it cleans all that stuff up.
Yeah.
And what'll happen is. I'm guessing this isn't going to go too far off, but go ahead and click on the roof and do an edit footprint. You know the difference between a gabled roof and a hip roof?
No.
Okay. What you have right now is all hip roofs. If you click on the purple line closest to us in the 3D view, down at the bottom, right there, yes. Click on that. Now you see where the slope is, and it says define slope up there. We don't want that to have a slope, so the tachometer area right there, say check that off.
Okay.
And then hit your green box or your green checks. Now you see what that did? Now you've got a flat end of your roof. Now the only thing you would have to do is you would click on that wall. And you see where it says edit profile, wall openings, attach top and base, detach up in the menus. Yep, say attach top base.
Yeah. And
then click your roof. And then click in clear space.
Oh, okay. So I got you. So it makes it the wall instead of the roof.
Exactly. Now you don't have the hip now, and that's, you're going to see both of those conditions a lot. Now you do see how that wall right there is not cleaning up. You would want to attach that wall to the roof as well, where that little notch of the corner is coming out.
Oh, right here?
Right there, yeah. Because basically what that's saying is it's just not healing that wall to that roof.
Okay.
And that's how you're going to deal with all kinds of, more intricate detail when you're getting into the roof situations.
I got you. And then does that do that to every wall?
Yeah. probably, I think what happens is because we did it two different ways. Originally, we told it to attach the walls to the roof, but when we switched something happened. I think because of the way I did the overhang, or the way I told you to do the overhang, it lost that connection to the wall. That's why he was showing you to do the actual overhang in the profile, not offset. You remember how I told you to offset it so we could see the overhang?
Yeah.
That was my bad. That was just poor practice. I hadn't been working in roofs in a while, and I forgot about the overhang command.
Okay.
So you'll see how quick. There's a lot of nuance to what's going on there. I don't even know if he's on anymore.
I'm not too sure.
And
I
unfortunately,
haven't heard him.
Unfortunately, I have to cut out here shortly because I have an appointment that I got to drive to.
That's okay.
Plus, I don't know what his intents are. I'm assuming he's just going down the box. We've done this training stuff forever now.
Yeah.
And it's just best to go out of the box and go down the menu and just kind of cover every aspect.
Right.
See if he comes back. But in about 5 minutes, I gotta cut out.
That's fine. If anything, if I can't get a hold of either one of you, I'll probably just play around with it and see what I can do, and wait for him to either get back in or wait for you to get back.
All right. Yeah, he must have. I don't know how to check and see if who's all in the thing. I see my picture down the bottom.
Yeah,
I'm assuming
think
you're working on a single monitor.
I am, unfortunately.
Yeah, I fought it for a long time, but now that I think I have two 42-inch or 46-inch TVs and then my laptop monitor.
Yeah. No, those bigger TVs, that's for more like your prints, right?
Well, it makes having Bluebeam open with your print on one screen and then having Revit open on the other screen when you're not sharing it, it just gives you more layout space. One of the big struggles that we had in the early days, if you look at the property box and the project browser over on the left,
yeah,
if you're working on a smaller monitor or whatever, you can scroll for days on these things. Whereas with the bigger monitors, a lot of times you can see almost all of the properties box. The properties box is the big one. When you're working on a big project and you have 100, or 1,000 sheets, the project browser is going to be long no matter what. But if you have to keep scrolling in your project or in your properties box, it becomes a real nightmare, because sometimes when you click on an object and you go back to the properties box, it'll stay where you were just looking at, whether you're looking at faded, which is down towards the bottom. So if you scroll to something and then you come off of there and then it bounces back up and you have to scroll back down, and right now you're only scrolling, you only have like a little bit of a scroll mark there, like an inch of it.
Yeah.
If that scroll bar is tinier and you're only seeing 4 of these things or 6 of these things, it becomes really hard to work. So it's more about just having a little bit more visible space to work with.
Right.
It does. The one downside to working on the big monitors is you do have to go, 46 inches to go across. If you're working all the way, like if you're looking at the little 3D box up on the top of your 3D view.
Yeah.
And then you have to go all the way to the properties box. That becomes a little bit of a nuisance, but you get used to it. You set your views up in a manner that makes it a lot easier.
I got you. It also helps that I guess I have my DPI for my mouse is a little quicker, so it makes the travel a little bit easier.
Yeah. I don't really want to move on to the next thing because, like I said, I gotta get ready to get going here and very shortly.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So
we can stop here.
I guess I'm going to go ahead and drop off. If you want to stay on there and see if he pops back up, or just contact him by phone and say, "Hey, I dropped off. Let me know when we can start back up," or whatever. And I'll be back in about. It'll be. I don't know if my meeting's going to go or my appointment's going to go long today, so it probably won't be till 1, maybe 1:30 till I get back here.
That's okay.
And if at that point he hasn't resolved it and he wants me to go ahead and continue on the menus box with you, I will do that, and we can just go ahead and go down. I know a majority of it. He knows a lot more of the tricks. I have not been utilizing the software as much lately, so I'm just slightly rusty. Obviously, I know all the ins and outs, but I know he likes to cover those tips and tricks while you go along the way, like the chair thing or whatever, and a lot of that stuff is incredibly helpful to just to understand it. And you might not retain all of that, but you'll at least go, hey, there was a way to do this and I can't remember it. You work with it a little bit, and if you can't remember it, then you just text us, call us, whatever, walk you through it, and you'll start to retain it once you've done it once or twice. The biggest problem that we've run into, like I said, we used to do this training back in 2009 when the economy was tanking and people were out of work. We were doing free training for classes of like 30 people, and you could tell who works in the software when after you teach it to them and who doesn't, because if you do not go and apply the knowledge, it doesn't retain well, especially when back then you were still working in AutoCAD, so you had to remember all your AutoCAD methods. The best thing is to be able to focus on one piece of software.
Right.
So I'm going to drop off, and I'll send an email out or whatever when I get back, or I'll just call Brian and see what's going on. Or if the StreamYard's up again, I'll pop on and we'll go from there. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. I appreciate your help.
Not a problem. Yeah, play with it as best you can. You like the black background better than the white background?
I do prefer it. Most of my stuff is in the black background.
A lot of people are that way now. Originally I worked in MicroStation and AutoCAD, and they both had the ability to change it. And I believe I used to always work in black background, but with Revit in the beginning, you couldn't change it. And so I just got used to the white background.
Right. I got you.
But all right, man, I'll chat with you in a little bit, and
Okay.
hopefully we can pick this up then.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Later.
Later.
Nathan,
Yes, sir.
are you still there?
I am.
What happened? Did Eric have to go?
Yeah, he had to go for a meeting.
You want to share your screen again, or
Yeah, I can.
you'll have to let me know if I start breaking up again, but I think my wife wrapped up her meeting. So,
Okay.
all right. So where did he leave you at?
He was talking more about he left off with the walls and making this a flat roof and connecting it and joining it, making it a wall.
So he didn't go much more.
You did start breaking up
You
again.
did I'm breaking up again.
Yeah.
Gonna have to get that resolved.
Do you think maybe restarting the stream or like the StreamYard would help?
Minute, and I'll come back. Just hang tight for a minute.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I am a little confused as to what I just did.
Uh-oh, did you end your program?
I don't think I did. I clicked. I think my arm brushed across my keyboard. I do not know what I clicked.
You might have started another copy of Revit. Look down across your bottom screen, see if there's another Revit. Nope.
No.
Somehow you closed your Revit.
Well, oh, no, we're good.
Maybe you hit something to make a new file, a new project. Might have been what you did.
Maybe.
All right, let's keep going then.
Okay.
So really, we're just about done with the build tab. You'll see the last three things that you got is a curtain system, a curtain grid, and a curtain mullion. Okay.
Okay.
So I want to show you what the curtain grid and the curtain mullion are. They remember I told you that it took me at least 3 or 4 years before I started getting comfortable with the curtain wall. But I will tell you, it is extremely powerful, which tends to be the way things are in Revit. It's like they're a little intimidating because you haven't mastered them yet, and they're a little bit complex.
You cut out
Using
again.
those things. Uh,
I heard. It stopped after you said they were a little complex.
yeah, I'm afraid that I'm gonna. You know what? See if that's going to take care of any problems. Did you hear me?
No, I'm sorry. What was it?
I'm going to reboot my router.
Okay.
Just draw for a little bit, and I'll rejoin you in about 5. I'll rejoin you in 5 minutes.
Okay.
How about now, buddy?
It sounds a lot better.
Sounds a lot better.
Yep,
And you've been drawing.
just a little bit.
All right, try. I wanted you to try a different type curtain wall.
Okay.
So draw that wall, but draw a curtain wall that's the I think it's the top one. It's going to probably be called. Nope, they don't even have one. Huh? That's interesting. Looking on mine real quick, so just bear with me.
Now,
Let's-
there are a few steps that I think I have forgotten.
All right.
I know how to get to the storefront wall, and I'm not too sure if it's unconnected or level 1 or
That
level 2.
that's where the top is going to. You see how it says height?
Yeah.
All right, see, and here's something pretty interesting about that. If you were to draw a structural wall, you would find that it would not say height, but it would probably say depth. Nope. hit escape. Go underneath the word wall, and you'll see structural wall below that. Wall structural.
Okay.
You notice how it doesn't say height anymore. It says depth.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you have any idea why that happens? I mean, there's no way you can, but what it does is when a structural person is drawing a floor and they think about the walls, they think about the walls holding up that floor.
Yeah.
As
What's underneath
opposed
the
to,
ground, right?
right. Whereas an architectural person thinks about the walls that are going up from that floor. That's
Yeah.
one of the things different about the structural wall. There's other things that are in there that that it's in a structural category, but I want you to go back to architectural walls. I just wanted to show you that the one goes depth and the one goes height. So when you do just a normal wall architectural and it says height, you can say unconnected, and like most of the interior walls would be unconnected and 10-foot high. The stuff inside there would go up to the ceiling. Okay, so what part is confusing you about the L1 and L2? L1 is saying that if you said L1 and you tried to draw a wall, you would be drawing a wall that goes from L1 to L1. So in other words, it's 0 height. Whereas when you say L2, you're going to the floor above.
Okay. So L2 would be the preferred one, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then here I would be able to set my height once I draw the wall.
No, the reason that it's not showing you setting the height is because that it's going to L2. So it's going to, when you draw, it's going to go up to wherever L2 is at in your model.
Ah, okay.
You with me? And you can't go, and that's the one that's saying that you can't go from L1 to L1. Now, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Okay.
So we can talk about this a little bit differently. Let's just bear with me, enter in this and share. All right.
Okay.
So when you draw a wall and you're going to make it height, now you'll see instead of L2, mine says go to L2. Now, if I was to go straight to L2, which is level 2, right, it would go up 10 feet.
Yeah.
However, right over here, do you see how I can say it's going up to the next level, L2, but then I could say go an extra amount. So to say that you can't go higher than that would be a lie. You'll see that when I go this piece of wall right here and look at this in this front view, you'll see that it's actually 6 feet higher than L2. So you wouldn't think that you could, right? Because when you did that wall, you said, oh, I can't put anything in here, but you can put it in here.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And that was going to be like one of my initial questions. I didn't know if there was a way to get around the like your level planes.
Get around your what?
Like your level lines, like your level 1 and level 2.
You want to use those levels. Those levels are beneficial because you see what happens is by me saying that that was 6 foot higher than that level 2, what happens is now if I start adding height to this guy, right? You see how the building grows?
Yeah.
And you see how this one wall grows? See, another way I could have drawn this, if this is at 10 feet, that means I could have picked this wall and said this wall didn't go to level 2, but instead was unconnected and went up to 16 feet. Now you'll see that that wall doesn't grow with it. Does that make sense?
Okay. So it's almost like hosted and non-hosted in a way.
It is exactly, not in a sort of way. It absolutely is hosted and non-hosted. And a wall can be hosted by a bottom and the top. So I could say that this wall, right,
Yeah.
is actually connected to level 2, right? So it's going from L1 to L2, but I could say that it's minus 2 feet from level 1 and it's plus 2 feet on level 2. So even though the wall doesn't look like it's related to those levels, it is related to those levels.
Okay.
And what I'm doing here is another command. That's one of those feel commands. All right. And what that is you will see that in Revit, if I pick on a wall and I hit my arrow key, left arrow, right arrow, what it actually does, and I like to do this sometimes. Let's see. If we put a dimension in here, because it feels like to most people that wouldn't be a good idea to just nudge something. So I want to show you where this gets driven by. So I'm going to make this thing be 10 feet. Through everything that we talked about today, remember, was you could put a dimension in, then you could pick an object, and the object that you pick will allow you to change that dimension. Oh, I didn't want that. So in other words, if I wanted this to be 8 foot, but I wanted to get that 8 foot by moving this wall, I would pick this wall and I would type in 8 foot, and then that wall would move over. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So where I was going is on your actual keyboard. You know the arrows I'm talking about: up arrow, down arrow, left arrow, right arrow. Well,
Yeah.
they work. You can pick an object and you can arrow. And what you would see is, let's see if I pull this up here, you'll see that when I pick that, it's jumping 3 inches at a time. You see 9 foot 3, 9
Yeah.
foot 6. Now, if I am zoomed in closer and I do that arrow key, you're going to now see it's doing a half inch, another half inch, a half inch, another half inch. And if
Oh,
I'm
okay.
zoomed out, right, you're going to
Yeah.
now see that it goes from 9 foot 8 to 9 foot 4 to 9 foot. So it's jumping every 4 inches. If I zoom out some more, you're now going to see it goes from 9 foot to 7 foot 8. See, 9 foot to 10 foot 4. So what it's actually doing is it's jumping in an exact amount of distance. Now, when we do that nudge, we can also hold the shift in and do the nudge. So I'm going to come in here where it was jumping about every 2 inches. Let's see. All right, that's every 3 inches it's going to jump now. It's jumping in 3-inch increments. But I'm going to hold my shift and do it, and it's going to jump like 4 of those. I think it's 4. So I want to show you where that comes from. Underneath Manage, underneath Snaps, you'll see right here, see this length dimension snap increments?
Yeah.
And you'll see it's 4 feet, then 4 inches, then 1 inch, and then a 1/4 inch. And I can and I actually changed that. We're going to look at that on yours, and then I'm going to explain to you why I made that do that. Okay. So if
Okay.
you want to pull up your Revit, then I'll pull your screen back.
Okay. It's up.
All right. So if you picked on one of those walls, escape 2 times, you're in draw something. Pick that wall. Now use your left arrow or your right arrow. You see how you can sort of work it,
Yeah.
right? And what happens is hold your shift button, and then hit the arrow, and you'll see it's a big jump.
Right.
But remember, it also has to do with how zoomed in you are. So if we change and go to your manage and to your snap settings, you're going to see yours is 4, 6, 1, 1.25. So it's every 4 feet, every 6 inches. Well, that 6 inches is a bad idea when you're drawing in masonry, because what we actually draw when we're drawing with brick is going to be every 4 inches. So in other words, a block is 8 inches long, or a brick is 8 inches long. A block is 16 inches long. That 4-inch, as opposed to a 6-inch, allows you to, when you're drawing, to make your building what's called coursed, so you don't have to cut brick. So that's something I normally wait to tell people when we get to the manage tab, but I wanted you to understand that nudge factor. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
So
Do you want?
also, if you notice on here, do you see next to the endpoints it says SE? That means if we type in SE, we will snap to an endpoint. And if we type in SM, we will snap to the midpoint. And by default, all of those things are going to sort of try to automatically snap. It tries to read your head. But the big one is that nudge at the top. It also happens when you're drawing. So if you were to go to draw a wall right now, if you're zoomed in real close, you will draw that wall to every 1/4 inch. But if you're zoomed out pretty far, you're only going to be able to draw every foot. So let's try that. Say, okay, and let's just try to draw a fresh wall. All right, you see how it's 58? Nope. What I wanted you to do was start drawing down from there. That's fine. Notice how it, other than snapping to a line, come off that line. Notice how it's 23. If you move up a little bit more, it'll be 23'6", then 22, then 22'6". So if you zoom out a little bit, roll your wheel a little bit, you're going to find now, you see what it's doing? Every 4 feet.
Oh, okay.
You with me?
Yeah.
That's all related to what was in that snap dialogue that we just showed you. So this is one of those spots where it actually, and it hurts CAD people, because typically what we did with CAD was we always snapped in real close. If you keep zooming, you're going to find a point now you're snapping to every inch. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is where it's harder for a CAD person to drive this thing, because I realize that if you do it the Revit way, you just want to zoom. You want to get yourself zoomed to the appropriate location. And if you're laying out the outside of the building, hey, maybe every 4 foot is a good location, or every 1 foot is a good location. Does that make sense? And you see, you're like right at the threshold. You're at the 6 inch. It's jumping every 6 inches. You zoom out a little bit more, then your building would stay course to a 4 foot dimension. You'll see it's going to do it a little bit more. There, it did it. 16, 20, 24.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got you.
And like I said, typically I don't get into this until someone's been using the software for a fair amount of time.
Yeah.
Now, I would like you to try to draw the curtain wall that said something like undefined. No, you can finish that. Finish that, and then go to properties. Hit escape one time. You're making a greenhouse is what you're making. Now go up to properties, and where it says curtain wall storefront.
Yeah.
Yep. Go hit that and go down to the one that says not defined.
Okay.
Now try to draw yourself just a piece of curtain wall.
Anywhere?
That internet sometime at lunch, or you guys, how long you going for?
Um,
Half hour? That's fine. I just need to know.
yeah, I think we'll probably do about another half hour, and then I'm going to give him some time to draw, and then I'll probably.
Lunch anyway, because they won't have anybody, so I'm going to go right after lunch.
That'll be fine. That'll be fine.
1 o'clock?
Yeah, about 1 o'clock. Why don't we just go get something to eat, and then we'll just get a box. Yeah. That work for you, Nate? Then that'll give you either a little time to take a little break or continue to draw a little bit, and then we'll just have another little session towards the end of the day.
That's fine.
That work for you?
Yeah.
I apologize. We'll get this stuff ironed out and it'll start working a lot smoother. So just go ahead and draw me a piece of wall. I want to see what this not defined guy that they created is. That's what I thought it was going to be. Perfect. And then hit escape 2 times. Now pick that wall and say edit type. That's what I wanted to see. So they've got nuns in all of the stuff. So this used to be for 15 years called curtain wall 1. They call it now not defined. Now I'll show you the neat thing about this curtain wall. So go ahead and hit cancel and zoom into that guy, and maybe in your 3D mode. We're gonna need to see this in 3D. How about you orbit me a little bit? There you go. Perfect. Like that. All right. So that gets you to the next 2 commands on the architectural tab. Hit escape 2 times. So the first one is a curtain grid. Like I said, we skipped curtain system. We've covered all the ones before there. I want you to play with those and get questions for me. But what we're going to now do is we're going to add curtain grids, because that's the amazing thing about a curtain wall, is that it can accept grids and mullions. So you hit curtain grid. If you hit the bottom edge, it's going to draw the vertical line. And if you draw out one of the side edges, go ahead and click a couple, put some curtain panels in, or curtain grids in. Perfect. Do a couple, hit one of those grid lines that you just put in. There you go. You see how it's allowing you to put these grids in at a certain elevation.
Yeah.
Go ahead, put a couple in. All right. That's good for right now.
Okay.
So now the next command, escape 2 times, is the curtain wall mullion. And the only place you can put a mullion is on a grid line, which you just drew. Now, if you look at the top toolbars, there's a thing that says the whole grid line, just one grid line segment, or all grid lines in the whole thing. So if you hit the one at the end, it's going to put mullions on all grid lines in that curtain wall. There you go.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just making this.
Yes. But you see, the amazing thing about the one you made, hit escape 2 times, hover over one of those vertical mullions and tab, and a tab. Pick. Use your arrow to nudge that around. See, you can slide that. With the ones that are up there, you can't slide them because they're defined by the rules. Pick that guy right there. Nope. I went the whole wall.
Okay.
There you go. Nope. You did one extra tab and it did a chain.
I got
there
you. This
go. That's it. Now go edit type. Go over to the edit type. See, what this one does is it says that all of those vertical grids are at an even spacing with a maximum spacing of 5 foot. Right?
Yeah.
So you have some choices underneath layout. If you see where it says maximum spacing, look at what your choices are.
Maximum spacing.
Yep. And then hit the arrow. You see you got minimum spacing, fixed number, fixed distance, or none. Okay?
Yeah.
So what happens is, why it's so hard to draw those curtain walls is people don't realize you use this type curtain wall to put it in, but when you want to adjust it so you can make room for your doors and stuff, what you want to do is change this guy from this curtain wall to the not defined one, and that would allow you to go in there and individually adjust those curtain wall mullions.
Okay.
So in other words, right there, right? Select the wall that's behind it.
This one.
Yeah. Yep. Just like that. Pick that one. Now go to the properties and not an edit type. I just want you to change this curtain wall from curtain wall to the not defined one. When it does, it's going to ask you a question and you just say, okay. Don't say delete the grid lines. See, that's released all of those locks that have been put on there.
Okay. That way I
So
don't
now-
have to build this separately.
Correct. And let's take the one that we built separately and delete it out of our way so we can see the stuff behind it. Yep. You just need to grab that container. It's a wall. All right. So if you remember, we were trying to put in that double door, but we didn't really have enough distance for that double door. So I want you to select one of those vertical grid lines. So when I
Okay.
say grid line, hover over a mullion, tab till you see the grid line. That's it. That one. Perfect. Pick it. All right. When we pick a grid line, one of the things that we can do is we can add or remove segments. Do you see where that's at on our contextual menu? Right there. That's it. Hit that and pick that mullion at the bottom. That one right there where you're, nope. Go over the curtain grid. Right there. Up a little bit. Just a little bit up. And pick. Pick it. Try hitting the actual line. I don't know what you got out of.
Okay, hold on.
Tab
Okay.
till you're in the grid line. Add, remove segment. You got to pick the line up. You got to be there. You go. You got to be not that high. Come down a little bit. Come down a little bit more. Don't be at that intersection. Right there. Pick and say delete the element. Now, what it's done is it's made that curtain grid not go through that bottom segment. So now if you hit escape and tab to pick the panel, pick that panel that's in there, right? A little bit higher. There you go. That's it. That's what I wanted you to pick. Remember how we had to unpin it before in order to change it into the door? We don't have to do that anymore because it's not defined, because it's in the undefined guy. So if you went over to the properties and changed that from the single panel glazed to the double door, can we have a double door in here?
Right here.
Yep. That's it. That's it. Now you've added a door. And then what did we do as well? We deleted the mullion along the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Bottom, right? So you don't trip over it. There you
I
go.
gotta delete each section.
Yep. And you can pick one, then you can hold your control button in and tab on the other one.
Oh, and tab?
You'll get to it. You'll get to it, buddy. It becomes hard to select, right? How about you do a window across, not a crossing window, but a regular window across that bottom? Nope, come down off of there and do in black space. Just be patient. This is frustrating. We'll get there. Pick and do a window now. And see what your window looks like.
Pick it.
Nope. All right, listen closely. Go over a little bit more to the left. A little more to the left. Down a little bit. Down a little bit. Down a little bit. Right there. Now pick and drag. Pick, hold your button down.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Escape 2 times. Don't move your cursor. Escape 2 times.
Okay.
Now pick and drag. Other direction. Go. Yep. Keep going. Look, you got those 2 mullions.
Okay.
Right?
I got you.
And now you could hit delete. And now that door would go to the bottom, and in plan view, it would look correct. So the idea is you have to start to get an idea on how to select these elements.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
To me, I knew exactly where to put your mouse. Remember, I said left, and down.
Yeah, I didn't know you were. Honestly, I thought I would have to actually click each individual one. I didn't know you wanted me to select it in this way.
That's all and see, I'm just trying to give you that that rote memory so that once you start thinking that way. Now, another thing I want you to think about is do that regular window, but do a pretty big piece of that curtain wall. So you're grabbing a bunch of stuff.
So I can like
go into space where we did that click and drag that window.
Like right here?
You see, you can't do the drag if something is if you're hovered over something that it's highlighted. So there you go. Now do it. Click and drag. Right? Keep going up some more. Keep going up some more. Perfect. Perfect. So when you do that, you have a bunch of, go ahead and release it. You have a bunch of stuff selected. You got some curtain panels and some curtain grids from 2 different ones. I can even go one step further and tell you you've selected 66 objects. Do you have any idea how I know that you've collected 66 objects? Write down where your clock is on your computer. Look
Yeah,
right above your clock time.
I see it.
See that? 66?
Yeah,
You see that little funnel?
yeah,
There's another funnel at the top of your screen. You can click on the one at the bottom. Most people don't know that this one works at the bottom. But if you clicked on that funnel, it would be the same as the funnel at the top. And that's called a filter, right?
right.
And what that's telling you is you've selected 17 curtain panels, 2 curtain grids, and 47 mullions. And if you said to yourself, well, I don't want the curtain grids and the curtain panels, I just want the mullions, you would take the check boxes off of those 2. And you would say, okay. And now you would have just those curtain mullions. And if you wanted to, let's go see on property, see if there's another type mullion in there that you could change it to. I don't know if they've loaded any. Yep, hit that arrow.
It won't let me click anything.
All right, the reason it won't let you click it is you don't know it from the back panel, but some of those objects are still pinned, right? Yeah, that's right, but don't do anything because I don't want you to lose this.
Okay.
Some of those objects are still pinned. That's why it won't let you change them. So before, what I showed you was to pick on the curtain panel and then hit the little pin mark. There's actually a pin mark for everything you've got selected. And if you look up in your modify button, that's it right there. So if you were to hit that, you would unpin all of those. And now you
Okay.
could change them to another style,
Okay.
right? Change them to a 1-inch square, maybe. And you'll see that all of those mullions will now be thin mullions.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And the reason it didn't work on this side before is because it's not selected under not defined, right?
That's correct, because it wasn't not defined. So therefore, those things say we want our mullions to be 2x4s because that's what it tells us to make our mullions as 2x4s.
Right.
And that's where people really struggle with the curtain wall that has a lot of definition and the curtain wall that has no definition. And what I taught myself to do first was to take an undefined one, and I would go in and I would put all of those lines, all my grid lines in, and then I would put all my mullions, and then I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. But then you realize how to balance the two, which is, it's going to take you a while. Okay. You're not going to master all this stuff overnight. What I'm trying to show you where to look for the answers. And then you'll develop the questions and answer them for yourself.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if we go back to the architectural tab, you'll see we've really covered everything on the build. That's usually what I would do for a morning class. I told you I did training and stuff. So if you went back to the architecture tab at the top, you would see, do you see where I'm getting the word build?
Yeah, right here.
That's that toolbar.
I got you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Now, I do have a question if you have time.
Absolutely. Do it. This is all about you.
When we were working on the column structure, you were cutting out really bad. And since I have you and it's, working really well, could you maybe go over this one more time?
Sure. So what I want you to do is zoom into the corners of one of your walls. Perfect. So let's change this view from the black and white mode to that shaded view, just like you did in the 3D view. Yep. The next one over.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. Okay. Shaded.
See, what happens is now you can sort of see the colors of the different materials.
Yeah.
All right. What I was trying to get across to you, what people don't understand what an architectural column does, is it if it hits a wall, it has a magic ability to take that finish and wrap it around the column. So if you were to hit column right now and put the architectural column in, remember it's going to remember that rectangular. Now, don't go near the corner. Don't go near the corner. What I want you to do is place it down the wall on the flat part of the wall, one on the inside of the wall and one on the outside of the wall.
Is
And
right here
watch.
fun?
Go a little bit more to the left. There you go. That's better. And click. And now do one a little bit more on the right side of the wall. And you see what it did? So
Yeah.
it's not just a column, it allows us to put a wrap around that thing. Go ahead.
Almost to act like a new wall.
Yes. Well, what would happen is if you tried to draw that wall, and people do, they get very, very frustrated because those little type walls like that don't behave well.
Yeah. So that's why you've been telling me the order and to like draw your wall first and then
Right.
your floor and then you get your columns later.
Yeah. Well, and we'll look at some floor plans, and what the gist of it is most people would think if you look at that, that looks like it's one wall, two wall, three wall, four wall, five walls. Instead, it's really just one column and one wall, or two columns and two walls. It would be if you try to draw those little wrap conditions as walls, you will drive yourself nuts.
Yeah. That also adds more pieces, to
It,
the puzzle.
it then also makes your floor try to wrap out there. It's one of those things that most people miss forever. I mean, I can go to people who've been using Revit for 6-7 years and they don't have an idea that is how that works. That's why I wanted to cover it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense now. Because I understood over here how it had taken the form of the wall and it wrapped itself around.
Yep.
But I didn't know it would do that for specific, parts.
Right. And you see, one of the things that we end up doing with Revit is that nudge, the arrow, the command. We also end up dragging things. So like that column, if you zoom up to where you had the two columns in the corner that when I was breaking up,
Yeah.
zoom up in there. You see the bottom column, you see how it thinks it's concrete, it has the little speckles on it.
Yeah.
If you just click on that and drag it and bump it into a wall, watch what it does. If it's on that side, it's going to wrap brick. If it's on the other side, watch what it does. It's going to wrap gypboard.
Okay, I got you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And like I said, people typically are coming from CAD and they're thinking about this stuff too complex. The way Revit wants you to put it in is throw it in there and then revise it, say, no, I'm not using brick. I'm going to be using stone, or I'm going to be using siding. And you're supposed to be able to make those components more and more realistic to what you're going to use in your project.
Yeah.
And that's where CAD truly struggles. Now, I want to give you the next ones are going to be railing, ramp, and stair. And the ramp and the stair are very closely related. All I want to do is sort of show you how they work a little bit. Then I want you to play a little bit, and then I'll answer some questions. But we're not going to get deep into it. And what I'm thinking is, do you want to maybe see if you can't draw for about 3 hours? And then tonight, when would you like to get together? We want to get together like at 4 o'clock, or do you want to get together after dinner at 7 o'clock? When do you think you'd want to get together next?
honestly, it doesn't really matter the time. I think how much time I have to draw would definitely benefit. 4 o'clock would be okay. I think if I just, if we hop off here and I just keep on drawing and I see where I can go from here, that way it's
Why
fresh in
don't
my
why,
mind.
why don't we do that? And what I'm gonna even do one step better. I just want you to play with the circulation. Skip the model because that really doesn't matter a whole heck of a lot. We're going to be doing that model tab you shouldn't even use. And the room and area. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to lay your building out, clean it up a little bit so that it's just one building, and try to put some interior rooms in it. Try to put some interior doors in it. Try to play a little bit and maybe even add a stair. Now, if you're going to add a stair, where's your stair going to go if all you have is a single floor, right? Because your
Right.
job is just a single floor right now, correct?
Yeah.
All right, so zoom out in your plan view. As a matter of fact, let's just type in TW. Last time I told you WT, which is window tile, and that makes you have split screen. Now I'm telling you do TW, and that'll get rid of your split screen. So everything outside of your L, let's get rid of that stuff up there. That was perfect picking. Perfect picking almost. Perfect. Now you're down to next to nothing. So your building, as it started out, was L1 and L2. It only had 2 floors. Well, we're going to make this thing a little bit more like a high rise. So in order to do that, I tried to show you the one time those little elevation markers that are around the side. If you zoomed into one of those, I don't care which one. Believe it or not, if you double click on the dark arrow part,
Right here.
double click on that, and it'll take you right to that elevation view.
Huh.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that same thing would be held true of the section mark as well. And to do this step, we want to do it with either an elevation or a section. Do you see what the section mark I'm talking about is? It's that red looking guy.
This one.
If you clicked on his arrow, it would take you to that view. Double click, I'm sorry. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
And see, that's the section of that building. If you zoomed in, you'd say the section doesn't look too good. And that's, yeah, zoom into that area. Zoom into that area where you were. The section doesn't look too good, and the reason being is you're in coarse mode. So put yourself in a medium or a fine mode. You're doing great, man. Now all of a sudden it makes a little more sense. Now the only thing that you do have turned off that I don't recommend is your line weights. Do you know where your line weights is? It's across the top. There's those little tiny tools at the very top. It's the third one up from the end. You have it turned on. That one right there. Hit that again. That's
Okay.
how it should look. Do you see how everything you cut a section through is a nice heavy line?
Yeah.
All right. Now, if you zoomed out, you would see we have 2 levels. I want you to make L2. I want you to rename L2 to be the roof. Type in roof. Perfect. And I want you to make that 60 feet. What you're going to see is now our job is going to go from a little 1-story building. We're going to now make it a high rise, a 60-foot building, 5
Yeah.
stories. All right. So the next thing you would typically do is you could draw, if you go back to the architecture tab. Nope, I'm sorry. Keep yourself in that section. The architectural tab. When I say that, I'm talking about the up at the very top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. So what we would see is at the very far right, not the last 4, but the 2 beside it, they say datum. You could add levels in here. Okay.
Okay, this is what I was asking you at the very beginning.
Yep. Now, you can either add levels or you can copy the level you already have. So if you hit escape
Okay.
and went down and picked L1, you know where the copy command is? It's 2 over from the fillet command that we were doing to trim stuff up in the
2
modify.
over.
Yep. Nope. Go closer to where the trim command was. Closer. Yep. Keep going to the right, down, and back 1 to the left.
Oh, okay.
That's the copy command.
Okay.
All right. Now, do you see our speedometer area? Do you see what it says there? It has a multiple checked on. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't want to do multiple, you can turn that off. Typically, CAD people want to turn that off. Don't turn it off. I just wanted you to know where it was. Now, what I want you to do is go click down at the bottom of your screen somewhere.
Just anywhere?
Anywhere. Head way straight up the screen. Head straight up. Perfect. Now, what I want, no, come down just a little bit so you're on the field. Now, I want you to type.
I'm sorry, I lost you right there.
In. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I heard up until you want me to type in what?
12.
Okay.
1, 2, and enter. Now do 1, 2, and enter again. You see how it's adding floors?
Yeah.
Do you see how Revit is smart enough to know if you started with L1, it made the next one not L2, but L3?
Yeah.
Why did it make it L3?
Sorry, I lost you again.
Two.
But my
In and
roof
out
is my
again?
L2. Yeah, it was
That's
cutting
right.
in.
That's right. So now what happens is you're going to be able to have multiple floors so you can do stairs and ramps because they have to go from one floor to the next.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You were able to hear me?
Right there, yes.
Okay.
No. Okay, so just to make sure I know what I did, if I press escape, select it.
No, you would. Now listen, what you'd be better off doing is go to the L3 one and rename it L2.
Okay.
Go to the L4 and rename it L3. All right. Now, what we did was we did the copy command. So if you pick L3 and copy it up 12 feet, remember how we did down? Yep.
I didn't. Do I select or do I just start typing?
Nope, you're perfect. You just start typing 1,
Okay.
2. See what it did? It automatically named it L4 and then it named it L5.
Yeah.
See, so sometimes by naming things smart, and this is a common reoccurring thing when we do Revit, is when we name it once, we get the benefit of it renaming everything, sort of following that sequence.
Right. I got you.
You with me? So
Yeah.
go to your plan view real quick. And I want to reiterate that. So we go over and look at our building, right?
Yeah.
Let's say we were going to draw column lines. You're familiar with what a column line is, right? You've at least read a
Yeah.
blueprint enough to know what a column line is.
Yeah.
So if you went to the architecture tab and you drew a column grid, that was out there with the datum.
Column grid.
All the way at the end. There you go. There you go.
Okay.
Notice how level was grayed out. You can't do any adding of levels unless you're in an elevation or a section. You see, you can't do levels in a plan. Remember, we talked about this before when you couldn't do a wall sweep because you were in a plan. See, now you can do a level and you can even do a grid. But in plan views, we can only do grids.
Right.
All right. So now if you start adding your grids,
Doesn't matter where.
nope, doesn't matter where.
On the building or outside.
I like that. I like that. Right where you were doing is a good guess. We're just sort of showing you how it works. Now go to the left or to the right, either one. Or I guess you could have went up. Go all the way over to the right as far as the building is. Perfect. Perfect. There you go. Boom.
Is there
Put it
a
in.
way for it to snap?
Yes. Yeah. Well, we'll get into refining that later. But you got to
Okay.
understand, typically what would happen is when the person was drawing those column lines, they would pick those out to be centered around a certain spacing. In other words, you don't generally make those weird numbers. They end up being 16 feet, 16 feet, 16 feet, 18 feet, 16 feet. But what I want to show you is zoom into that bubble that was actually drawn. See, right now it put a number 1 in there. I want you to change that to a lowercase a. Now, what happens when you draw and you're still in the column line command? I can see that. If you draw another column line, what do you think it's going to do?
Go to B.
Yeah, lowercase b.
Do I start from here?
Yeah, be fine. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get you to feel so that you can feel that you can trust. You see how it did that? So
Yeah,
now you can do all your ABC side, and then you could start doing the vertical ones and do the 1, 2, 3 side. But more importantly than any of that is if we go to our east or west elevation, because we will see those column lines in our east or west. If you hit escape, and go to one of those side elevations, double click on the art. You don't have to zoom in, dude. You'll be able to double click on it. You see those A and B are automatically showing up.
Yeah.
You see how it went higher than the building?
Yeah.
Well, here's a neat thing that happens. Take your roof and nudge it up maybe like we were going to add another floor. I'm sorry, the roof level line.
Oh, okay.
Don't ever pick the target. There you go. Pick that. Now just hit your shift about 5 times or your up arrow a bunch of times. Up arrow that. Do you see how the column lines aren't moving? Keep going. Keep going. Up, 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 up. All right, stop. See, so you see how those column lines didn't move up. I want you to go back to your floor plan.
Okay.
And I want you to draw the next column line, which would be column line C. So it's automatically, remember, it's going to remember. I'm trying to show you that it remembers that stuff. So you just go into creating another column line. I love it. I love what you're doing. Perfect. And maybe add D too. Just you see how it added the C? It remembered you were lowercase. It remembered all that stuff. Add one more just to prove this theory out. Perfect. Now go back to one of your side elevations and let's see what happened. Do you notice how C and D are up higher than A and B?
Right. So it automatically sets to above the drawing.
That's why you want to get your levels right first before you put your column lines in. Sort of like you want to draw your walls before you draw your floor.
I got you.
Right.
So the order.
Right. The order is important. Now that A and that B, we can fix by picking it. Pick the grid line. There's a circle at the top, right below the letter B, right below the letter B. Drag that till it lines up with the others. Now drag it a little bit more and you'll see all of those are joined together.
Okay.
Okay. That once again, I'm trying to show you that Revit helps you out with a lot of things if you'll let it.
Right.
And that's exactly what does it. So if you don't want it to be locked, now it relocked itself. It automatically says pick up that alignment.
I got you. So it'll automatically, if it's not already locked, if I lock it, it automatically does it.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
So now what happens is something we didn't discuss earlier. Over in the browser, can you show me where the browser window was? Do you remember that one? It's below the properties. It's below the properties.
Yes, this.
Right. Well, what they've done, and I don't know why, but they've added this views by discipline, which, I mean, I do know why they do it. It's to sort of help you organize it. But what I want you to do is I want you to look at that the way we normally look at it, which is views all. So if you go right where it says views discipline and right click over the views, nope, come down just a little right there and right click and say browser organization and change that to be all and say okay. All right. See, now what ends up happening is you'll see you've got architectural floor plans. If you hit the plus in front of that, there's the L1 and L2 architectural. So we don't have L3 and L4 and L5, and we don't have roof. So take that. Let me think about this. To add the ones that you're missing, can you see on your actual drawing of the levels on your drawing? Do you see how the roof and the L1 are a little bit different than the rest of them? What's different?
They're highlighted blue.
They're highlighted in blue. What happens if you double click on that highlight in blue? You went to the roof plan. All right. But you see, you don't have any roof plan for L2, 3, 4, 5. We do have one that says L2, but it's actually the roof plan.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want you to do is in the browser, I want you to highlight on the L2 architectural. And then I want you to delete it, which you could either do with that delete or you could hit with the delete button.
Right.
Now, okay. I'm guessing. Can you hit the plus next to the ceiling plans architectural plan?
Ceiling plans architectural.
There's probably an L2 under there. Can you double delete that one?
It wouldn't let me do the delete key.
It wouldn't let you do the delete key.
No.
Oh, and I bet they got ceiling plans for all of those. Hit the other two ceiling plans. Ay. That's pretty mean how they start you out now. What I was trying to do was I was trying to delete all of those missing plans. All of those L2 plans, they should really say roof plan, not L2. But they sort of broke that in the template that they gave you. I'll explain that better when I'm showing you my screen. What I want you to do, you can go ahead and close the one. Just scroll up on your browser, roll up. See where it says L1 architectural?
Yeah.
I want to show you how to add the missing ones, okay? Because you don't have L2, L3, L4, L5, and roof.
Right.
So we're going to add those.
Okay.
So if you go to the toolbars at the top, I need you to go to one that says view, where it says not that top, that one there, view, right? And right below that is the one that says plan views, a button. You're very close to it. Go a little bit to the right there. Say plan view, floor plan. And then you're going to notice, guess what? There's all the ones we're missing. So if you hold your shift and highlight all those, and say, okay. Do you see how they're all listed there now? So that's your second floor, then your third floor, then your fourth floor, and then the roof. So guess what happened in the west architectural view? Any one of your west or your section, go to one of your elevations. You'll now notice, see all the icons all turned blue?
Yeah.
And what I'd like you to try to do is you have the technology on how to cut a hole in the slab. Obviously, you would need a new slab put in on all those elevations.
Right.
I want you to try to put in a stair, try to put in a ramp, and try to put in a handrail. Let me see your architecture tab again, see where that gets us. Nope. Yep, that's the one. So that'll get you through the circulation. I want you to take a stab at those three. The model I told you we can cover very quickly. Now, what I want you to do on L2 and L3 is I want you to lay them out as if they were a floor plan. Let's call this an doctor's office. So lay me out some exam rooms and some receptionist area and some bathrooms and that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean by that? So what you would do is over in the browser, you would double click on the L2 and that would take you to that floor, that level.
And I can start editing from here.
Right there, I want you to draw in some interior walls, make a hallway, make some different type rooms. And then what we'll do is we'll name those. Don't forget to make a stair, at least one stair. You really need 2 stairs. And then we'll get the stair command and we'll get the room stuff. And that is pretty much, that gets you room tags. That leaves you just the openings is the only thing we will not have covered on our first day, which means we're ahead of where we would normally be.
The openings for the floors?
No, well, actually, yes, they would be openings for the floors.
Eric covered that with me.
Okay, get ready because I'm going to share my screen. So you go ahead back to the shared view.
Okay, I'm here.
All right. So you can see my screen?
Yes.
So I'm going to sort of repeat what we did, right? I took this guy. I'm going to make mine 100-foot building, right? And then I told you that what I needed to do is we renamed this thing roof. Watch what happens when I rename it roof. It's going to say, would I like to rename corresponding views? This is because of the template that I'm in versus yours. And this used to be the standard template. So what it's actually asking me is it's going to rename this thing right here. See where that's level 2? See where that's level 2?
Yeah.
When I say yes, watch what it does. It renamed those roof and roof. And I can explain to you why yours didn't. So this is now level 1, which I might want to say something like, the second I call this floor 1, it's going to ask me to rename it. You see how it now went to floor 1. And what happens is that's the last thing that I named. Any new grid lines are going to be floor 1 or named floor. Notice that my multiple was turned off because it used to be turned off. Now in 2024 or 2025, they put it in there. I told you to head a direction, and then I just go 12, enter, 12, enter, 12, enter, 12, enter, 12, enter, 12. See how I now have myself an 8-story building, but I don't have all of those 8 floors. So what then I told you to do was go view, plan view, floor plans, select all of those and say, okay, now I've got all of my floor plans. Okay.
Yeah.
So now one of the things you did was you went in today and we said, if you do a floor and we go to the wall and we hit tab, right? Now, this put the floor to the inside face of the core. If I flip it, it goes to the other face of the core, and it didn't do it just here. Notice it did it everywhere around there. And I can undo that as simple as that.
Yeah.
You with me?
Yeah.
So now that then puts us a floor right, 3D. Now, there's a really neat command that allows me to come in here and turn a section box on. And then I could take this section box and I could pull this guy back here like this. And you see how I have this last floor, the first floor?
Yeah.
Well, I could take that first floor. I could come in here and I could say, copy to clipboard. And I could say paste to selected levels. And I could say, would you please put that on all of those levels?
That is so much quicker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if we've worked the way that we just did, the big benefit is if I take this wall, let's see, this wall, you'll notice that if I nudge, see how all those walls, all those floors, all that stuff is automatically growing?
Yeah.
That wouldn't have happened the way you were drawing when we first started. Remember how you showed me how, Brian, I drew a floor and then I went back in and drew the walls? If you draw them out of order, you don't get that relationship.
Yeah, I got you.
And then what happens is you end up moving this wall and all those, then you're like, I got to go fix all those floors.
Yeah, I would have technically to get that same relation, I would have to move the floor first.
Correct. So Eric showed you a way that you could take this floor and you could say, edit the boundary. And he said, if you just throw a nice little rectangle in here, it cuts a hole in the floor, right? Well, the smarter way to do that is we put a shaft in, okay? And a shaft looks very similar. You go like that. You can put symbolic lines in. What a symbolic line would typically be is a lot of times when we put a shaft in a building, we put a little X across it to show that it's a cutout. So now what ends up happening is there's my shaft. You notice how it cut 2 floors?
Yeah, because that box.
Because it goes -1 foot below floor 1 and it goes up 20 feet. Or I could say, please go all the way up to floor 8 and go 2 feet above floor 8. And now what happens is I cut a shaft for my stair.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what happens? Go ahead.
Instead of individually cutting out each hole and lining it up.
Both would work, right? Both would get the job done. The problem is I'd be leaving work at 10 a.m. and you'd be leaving work at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
That's why we're trying to set you up to be at that level. So now the next one is going to be, and I'm going to just basically show you the beginning, stair. And I'm going to go from floor 1 to floor 2. I'm going to check. I'm going to say, oh, I want a wider stair than 3 feet. I want my stair to be maybe 5 foot wide. This is how it's drawing it. By all means, I want you to sort of play with that just to get exposed to it. But the way a stair works is I start drawing. And do you see it? Can you see it's a little bit gray? It looks like I can see it. It says 5 risers created, 16 remaining.
Yeah.
15 remaining. Well, your stair can then go something like this. And then from here, and then from here. And when I've made enough, it'll finish out the stair. So now, if I don't like what ended up happening, I can take these guys and delete them. And I can say, oh, you know what? That run, I only want to go from here to here. Then I want to most of the rest of the run out here. So I'm just sort of eyeballing this so that then I can take this guy and slide it over to where the opening is. Take this guy. You see, I'm just dragging it. You see how that line turns blue? You see how
Yeah.
that one line turns blue? That tells me I'm hitting that line. When I did it here, same thing. I can go over till I hit that line. This guy here, same thing. I could drag it up and then I could come back down till I hit that line. And then I say finish. And what you would see is this guy is my stair from one level to the next. And then the neat part about that thing is you can take that stair somewhere. There's a multi-leveled stair. It's right here. Select levels. And then you just, I think, go blink, 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 and blink, and say finish. I did something a little bit off. No. Yeah, I did something a little bit off, but you can get those stairs to repeat themselves all the way up. Ramp is going to be the exact same idea. Let's see, I'm out here by my loading dock. But the ramp, the challenge is you would never ramp from one floor to the next floor. What you would only do is you would ramp and say, see how this says floor 1, floor 2? I'm going to say go from -3 feet on floor 1 up to floor 1. See, so it's lower than floor 1, up to floor 1. That's a 3-foot ramp, which tells me if I needed to draw a ramp, it would look like this. So going 3 foot on a ramp, you see how much run you need to use. You see that?
Yeah.
So this ramp could go something like this. And now I could have a handicap ramp going up to that, to a doorway.
Is there anywhere to like actually measure that and know when you have the right amount of run?
Absolutely. Well, see, it does the same thing as the stair. When I go to ramp, I'll change this back to floor 1. It's telling me that I need 36 feet of ramp to go up 3 feet. And that's ADA code. So
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so that black solid box shows you how much run you need.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's
Okay.
exactly right. And both the stair and the ramp automatically get a handrail. But if we had like an opening, like this was a loading dock, we could put a railing in there as well, like around here and up to here and over to here. It's not chained. The chain, you see the chain, how it's checked off? That's typically by default how the handrail is. It may be different on yours, but the idea is the handrail is one of the few sketches that does not have to be closed. A floor has to be a closed shape. A handrail does not. See, so I can make that handrail and then I can decide, did I want that kind of handrail or did I want a pipe handrail? Make sense?
Yeah. It's just going to take me doing it and getting used to it and being able to snap to what I want.
Plus, you're going to also need some direction on what you need to draw. So, but for right now, I want you to play with those guys. When I talked about the inside of that building, what I'm looking for you to do is that's going to be typically one of these interior walls. I wouldn't really fret on exactly what type, but those typically are not going to go up to the roof. Those are going to typically be,
Between levels?
no, they're typically going to be unconnected because they're only going to go up just above the ceiling to like 10'4". Okay, because I don't want this to go all the way up to the next floor. And then this is going to be where I'm saying, I'm going to come in here, something like this. That's going to be my corridor. And that's going to be a room. This might be a mechanical room. And this might be an office. Oh, and then I might say, oh, you know what? And I'm going to show you how I would typically do this. So underneath the modify, I would split this room. Notice how I just take that dot and I drag it back. And I just take this dot and I drag it back. And then I might pull this one beyond and this one beyond. You see how they're lining up? And then a lot of times I'll right click on that and that will allow me, let me try that again. Pick on the wall, right click on the dot, create similar. And from there, you just go like this. And the idea is I'm just going to try to lay out, I'm going to lay out some rooms. So that we can get to our last tab. Our last tab is where you go, architecture is going to be these guys here. And that's where we're going to put in rooms. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, oh, this is a room, and this is a room, and this is a room, and this is a room. And then I would come in here and I would say, this is the kitchen. This is storage. Meeting. Janitor. So now I've placed rooms in, okay? Well, the real benefit to placing rooms in, unlike most softwares, is that room is collecting data as well as its valuable information. So if I come in here and pick this actual room, you would see this room is actually 622 square feet. It tells me it's got about 101 feet of perimeter. It tells me what its room number and its room name is. We could put finishes in and whatnot. But more importantly than any of that is you have the ability to, in this view, see this color scheme?
Yeah.
We can make that color scheme be of the rooms by what name they are. And that quickly we have a colored floor plan. And you see, if I ended up with another janitor room, let's say this was another janitor room. The second I put in janitor, you would see it's the same color as the other janitor room.
Right.
More importantly than any of that, if you came in to annotate, you would find that you can put a color fill legend. And that quickly you could have a legend of your floor plan. And if it was a school, you could have classrooms are yellow. And by all means, that's all controllable in this color scheme by me being able to say, okay, this color here, I'm sorry, it's here. If I wanted all my janitor rooms to be yellow to jump off the page to me, I have that ability. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And that, most importantly, is going to get you through this architecture tab.
Okay.
That's what I'm after, is getting you through the architecture. So I showed you the only one we didn't really go over was the shaft. I want you to play with that now that you got a high rise. You need to get those floors in there. And don't be ashamed if you don't remember how to copy that floor up all those levels. You can always go to floor 2 and you could say, give me a floor and go like that and go tab and add yourself into floors. Try to draw. We're using all these buttons on here. Hit me up with any questions. And why don't you do this? Why don't at about 4 o'clock you text me and tell me whether you want to get together at 4, or text me if you want to get together tonight, or if we just want to do it tomorrow. Okay.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
This is true baptism by fire, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a heck of a day one classes. Most colleges cut it a little bit easier than this. We've covered a lot.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
Not really. I think a lot of my questions are just going to be answered by doing it, and repeating the process that we've gone through.
Try to keep in mind, this is our properties. This is the edit type. I've showed you a bunch of times today what edit type does, how you can control it. This is our browser. We didn't get deep into it. You can play with these ones down here. We're going to refine that as we go with a little bit more developed in the project. The biggest thing I want you to do is to click and add. I showed you how to make a new profile, right? To add in, remember we did the profile that we said, give me a wall sweep, and we added a sweep, and then we took that sweep and we said, oh, there's a profile under there. And even though you would think, and anyone would tell you, you can't make a profile because you're just in a viewer, we proved to you that you can make a new profile and you could make those shapes and you could do that stuff. I want you to test it a little bit. Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to figure out what happened with the multi-stair. I will figure that one out. Text me at around 4 o'clock.
Okay.
If your brain is spent for the day, then it may be best that we just do this fresh. If you want to take a break and see how you feel, then you can text me again later in the evening. Or if you're ready to get together and be like, Brian, as soon as you hung up, I couldn't do anything, please just let me know. I will jump back on and we'll close out the day with getting you so that you can draw some stuff.
Okay. That sounds
All
good.
right. All right, buddy. Nate, you be good.
Yes, sir. You too.
All right. Later, man.
All right. Bye.